Baseball in Cincinnati, a short turnaround from last night. The A's losing 3-1 to the Reds. Cincinnati tries to take both games against Oakland. Live baseball coming up next. Welcome to Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio. Some afternoon baseball comes your way as the Oakland A's and Cincinnati Reds play the second game of a short two-game set. Both of these clubs very much in the playoff hunt as it stands right now, but the A's have lost 5 of their last 6 games. The Cincinnati Reds have lost 7 of their last 10. And again, they may not be playing their best baseball right now, but as the Oakland A's turn to Bartolo Colon this afternoon, they certainly have the right guy on the mound.
They do have the right guy, but he's also been a very predictable pitcher. One, he's been able to give them innings from that standpoint, and also predictable. You're going to see pretty much 95% two-seam fastballs. That's going to rack up a lot of ground balls, which is why he's been able to give them innings. And the old basic throw the ball over the plate. He doesn't walk anybody.
No, he does not. His counterpart this afternoon is Homer Bailey. He's been great at times and inconsistent others, but he already has another no-hitter this year.
Another no-hitter, hard to believe. 2 no-hitters within a 9-month span, and people are still wondering when are they going to get more consistency out of Homer Bailey. He's a guy with #1 starter stuff, and with Johnny Cueto on the shelf and not knowing when he's going to be back, Homer Bailey needs to be more consistent.
Reds in the midst of a long homestand. They'll try to sweep this quick 2-game set against the A's. Lineups and first pitch next. And welcome back to Cincinnati. And take a look at the Oakland A's lineup for this afternoon. Leading things off is Coco Crisp in center field. Seth Smith, great career numbers against Homer Bailey. He bats second in right. Jed Lowry's the shortstop. Yoenis Cespedes is in left. Brandon Moss bats fifth and plays first base. Josh Donaldson bats sixth and plays third. The newly acquired Alberto Callaspo is at second base. Stephen Vogt behind the plate. He's catching. And Bartolo Colon, will see him in the box as well in the National League Park. He will bat ninth and pitch. And a nice afternoon, a bit of a steamy afternoon as we welcome you back inside to Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Paul Severino with Joe McGrain, and that's the guy we'll watch work tonight. Homer Bailey, who's getting his shoes ready for tonight's game, but he's been pitching very well. Hasn't been seeing the results. That's the sense I got talking to him yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that's very accurate, Paul. In his 22 previous starts, his team has been shut out 4 times. He had the no-hitter on July 2nd, and after that lost 4 straight starts. So in many ways it's been a strange odyssey for Homer.
1-2 with a 2.08 ERA in his last 3 outings. And again, you mentioned the no-hitter. We talked about it before. He's the kind of guy who, really makes you scratch your head a little bit every once in a while if you're a Reds fan.
Well, from the standpoint, you look at his #1 starter stuff. Not too many what you would call true #1 starters out there among the 30 teams, but from the stuff standpoint, Homer has it. He has the mid-90s fastball, great down and away, fading off speed pitch, split finger, good tight breaking ball. Sometimes I think you get a little bit too tricky in trying to really apply all of those pitches and get them incorporated.
Now let's take a look at the defense that is behind Homer Bailey this afternoon. Xavier Paul is in left, Shin-Soo Choo in center, Jay Bruce, who had a home run and a nice running catch last night, he's in right field. Third to first on the infield, Todd Frazier, Zach Cozart, Brandon Phillips, and Joey Votto. And behind the plate this afternoon, day game after a night game, it's Corky Miller. Ryan Hannigan, of course, for the Reds, still on the DL. Devin Mesoraco getting the bulk of the playing time. You look at the right side of this infield, though, Joe, with Brandon Phillips and Joey Votto, two of the best out there.
Outstanding defense, outstanding range, and it'll be interesting to see going up against this A's lineup and with these left-handed hitters how much Homer Bailey is going to be trying to incorporate that little tandem of pounding the fastball in to throw the split finger away. In a perfect situation, you want to have the ball put in play to where your best athletes or your best defenders are. Joey Phillips or Brandon Phillips and Joey Votto, two of the best.
No question about it. Watching those guys get ready yesterday afternoon before the game, obviously an afternoon start today, so not too many activities on the field pregame, but yesterday afternoon I was here in the ballpark. Joey Votto was one of the first ones out there taking ground balls before batting practice. Brandon Phillips was out there as well. These guys work on their craft. They certainly work on things to be as good as they are. So it looks like we're just about set and ready to go as Coco Crisp will get in the box to face Homer Bailey. And we are set to go on a Wednesday afternoon here in Cincinnati. Homer Bailey against Coco Crisp as the A's and Reds wrap up this short 2-game set. Coco Crisp has played 12 years in the major leagues, in the middle of his 4th year here with the Oakland A's. First pitch of the afternoon misses outside for ball 1.
I tell you, Paul, if there could ever be a lot of pressure on a leadoff hitter, it is on Coco Crisp with this team. Very important for him to get on and really create the threat if he's not going to steal that he is going to steal, because it's going to affect how the rest of the lineup is pitched. It's a team that does not have the same amount of power as it did last year, so they've got to turn things around.
Popped up on the infield. Cozart on the second base side of the bag makes the catch for out number 1. So the struggles continue for Coco Crisp, who in the last 12 games came in batting 184. He had a triple last night, but 0 for 1 early on this afternoon. Next up is Seth Smith. Last night a terrific crowd here. Joey Votto bobblehead night. Probably explains part of that.
Explains a lot of it.
Yeah. Smith on the first pitch pops this one up. Cozart calls again, but he's called off by Xavier Paul for out number 2. So a couple of quick outs through 4 pitches here in the top half of the first.
It's going to be interesting to see how the A's really try to attack Homer Bailey. I mentioned that the fact that he has top flight #1 starter stuff. This is a team that has not been putting the ball in the seats, although this is a great ballpark for hitters. The A's over the years have really prided themselves in being very patient at the plate, but this is not a guy that you want to let get you to 2 strikes because he has 3 real good put away pitches.
Good look at Eric Sogard, Josh Reddick, both getting the afternoon off as Jed Lowry takes a called strike, and it's 0-1. Lowry, one of just 2, along with the guy we just saw, Eric Sogard, who has a batting average over 300 the last couple of weeks. This is a club, an Oakland A's club, that has again struggled as of late. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they are clinging right now to an AL West lead of just 1 game, with the hard charging Rangers coming right on their tails.
They're going to have to really put it together with their pitching staff. Their bullpen has already really done a nice job, but if you're looking for a balanced club offensively, they need to pick it up.
Hit on the ground, but wide of the bag at first. And a good look there at Bob Melvin, who has been absolutely terrific as a manager at a couple of different stops. He was the manager of the year in Arizona back in 07. He was the manager of the year in the American League this year, and last year, I should say. And just talking with a few people around the club, nothing but good things to say about Bob Melvin. Nothing to say about the A's offense in the first as they go 1-2-3 on 8 pitches. Homer Bailey, 3 up, 3 down. We'll be back right after this. Joe McGrain back with you in Cincinnati. A look at the Reds starting lineup this afternoon. Shin-Soo Choo leads things off in center field. Todd Frazier is at third base batting second for the first time all season. Joey Votto in his usual spot at third playing first. Usual spot for Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce at 4 and 5. Xavier Paul is in left field this afternoon. Zach Cozart plays short. Corky Miller behind the plate and Homer Bailey on the mound. And that's the lineup that will face Bartolo Colon, who has gone 15 consecutive starts of the quality variety, so at least 6 innings and 3 or fewer earned runs. He has been terrific all season. His first pitch, though, is upstairs for ball 1.
Yeah, and Paul, when you look at the quality start statistic, it really kind of shows you mediocrity, that your earned run average is going to be in the high 3s, but that's just standing right all over a good leadoff single by a good leadoff hitter. My goodness, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
It wasn't worth it.
It's a line drive base hit for Shin-Soo Choo. Had a couple of hits last night, scored a couple of runs, had an extra base hit as well. He's a guy who got out of the gates extremely hot, kind of cooled off a little bit, but still getting on base at a very good clip as we get our first look at Todd Frazier. And again, this is his first start in the lineup at second. Second in the lineup, that is, of course, playing third this afternoon, coming off what was a terrific rookie season for him, but so far 2013 hasn't quite clicked, as you can see with that .235 average.
Well, the league adjusts to you, and really what allows you to stay around a long time and to be successful is your ability to make adjustments as pitchers start to find holes in your swing that you didn't think that you had. Obviously enjoying that outstanding rookie year. He's got tremendous power when everything is right, and you know, the onus is on him, like a lot of second-year players, is to adjust to those scouting reports, advanced scouts, and with everything that's available now, all the video information, the scouting reports, they can find a hole in just about any hitter's swing.
Shin-Soo Choo off first with the leadoff single here in the bottom half of the first inning. No score early on. Matinee baseball in Cincinnati. That's in there for a strike. And Bartolo Colon is a guy who is going to pound the strike zone and pound the strike zone with fastball after fastball. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but he looks like a guy who just almost doesn't care out there, in the sense of, here it is, hit it. I don't care what you do with it. And it hasn't been much this year.
Well, you can have several different builds to be successful in the game of baseball, but you're right. He looks like he could be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker, anything but a pitcher. But that's the one thing that he has done. And you know, you think of one pitch dominance like Mariano Rivera with the cutter. Bartolo Colon with the two-seam fastball, 14-3 with an ERA at 2.50, and he's pretty much going to throw two-seamer after two-seamer after two-seamer and an occasional breaking ball, but something to watch. Very early in this game, the last couple starts, his velocity has been down. He's normally been 88 to 90, although it's been down into the mid-80s the last start.
Misses low and away, and that is ball 4. So with a base hit and a walk, 2 men are aboard for Joey Votto as we take a look at the A's defense this afternoon. Yoenis Cespedes is in left, Coco Crisp in center, Seth Smith is in right. Josh Donaldson at third, as he's been for almost every game so far this season for the Oakland A's. Jed Lowry at short, Alberto Callasco at second, Brandon Moss is at first, and Stephen Vogt is behind the plate. Vogt also started last night's game. I was a bit surprised to see him day game after a night game, especially with such a short turnaround, but as you know, Joe, I am not the manager of a big league club.
Now this is a real key spot because Joey Votto, very patient hitter, and I think he needs to be a little bit more responsible in putting the ball in the seats and not so much taking so many walks. He's a very patient hitter, and I think a lot of people think too patient at times. He has light tower power, and this is, you know, you're going to be getting a fastball. This is a situation when, if you're Dusty Baker, you want to see him turn and burn on one here.
Colon misses, now the count 2-0, and again, this is the ongoing question, the ongoing debate between the new school and the old school. You take a look at what Joey Votto has done all season long with the walks, but even more of a smaller sample size just the last couple of weeks. In 12 games, getting on base at a .480 clip, and yet only 1 home run.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a pet peeve to see guys who have this tremendous amount of power take fastball strikes, fastballs more in the middle of the plate, and especially in hitters' counts. He said this is his style. He's not going to change, and he's also in a ballpark that's very favorable for power hitters.
2-1 pitch, line for a base hit into right field. They will hold Chu at third, and the bases will be loaded for Brandon Phillips. So a single, a walk, and a single, and Colon's in some early trouble here in the first.
Having a chance to play it for a big inning and not wanting to be risky in getting Chu thrown out at the plate. But very uncharacteristic of Colon, a walk. And getting himself into a hitter's count into one of the game's best, Joey Votto.
And that's the thing about Votto. I had a chance to talk with the GM of the Reds yesterday, and Walt Jocketty, and I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but he kind of reminds me of a guy like Barry Bonds, who knows he's going to see his pitch, and if he doesn't see it, he doesn't care. He'll take the walk. And he said that, yeah, you're right. And when he did get his pitch, he crushed it. Same story with Votto. But right now, it's Brandon Phillips, again with the bases loaded and nobody out here in the first inning. Chu on third after a walk. Frazier, a single for Chu, a walk to Frazier, and a base hit for Joey Votto.
And again, a similar scenario here for Phillips. 1-0. Colon wanting to get back to the strike zone. I think he's looking to hack right here.
This one is hit in the air, right side, going back. Callasco, coming in is Smith. He makes the catch. And that will not get the job done. And that was a situation in which Phillips has been extremely successful in this season. 9 for 13 with the bases loaded. Part of the reason why he's 6th in all of baseball with 84 RBIs, but he leaves 3 on the pond here in the first inning.
Brandon Phillips has to be thinking, why and where did that come from? A little wrinkle, not too many of those that you're going to see from Bartolo Colon. A little slider, just kind of a get me over the slider, and didn't really have a lot of good tight late break, but got the right kind of out.
That'll bring up Jay Bruce, who homered last night, his 23rd on the season, and he takes in there for a called strike. Bruce, kind of the offensive version of Homer Bailey as far as consistency versus inconsistency goes. One of the more streaky offensive hitters in baseball.
He's come a long way. He's really started to develop what I would call an adjustable bat.
This one is chopped. Lowry to second for 1. Over to first, not in time, and Chu will score. And it's 1-0 Reds. goes down as a 6'4" fielder's choice. The RBI to Bruce's 76th on the season.
He was really busting it down the line, not wanting to prevent that run from being scored.
Wasn't much Lowry could do with that one, right?
Nope.
So Chu scores to dent the scoreboard first for the Cincinnati Reds. A team, as we said before, has lost 7 of their last 10 games. Right now, the 6.5 game deficit in the National League Central is the largest that they've had since the end of the 2011 season, when they missed out on the playoffs completely. Xavier Paul steps in for his first at bat of the afternoon and takes a ball.
You know, and they really need to start putting it together. I still am of the thought that, you know, 3 postseason teams are going to be coming out of the NL Central, but it's a slide that this Reds team has been on, where they just kind of had the blasés.
And part of the reason has been the health of this club on the whole. They have not been healthy all season long. It actually started on opening day with Ryan Ludwig going down with a shoulder injury. Part of the reason why Xavier Paul and others have played left field, as Paul is doing this afternoon. It sounds like Ryan Ludwig, who's on a rehab, the numbers are not good. Chance to talk to Dusty Baker yesterday, said he's a little bit concerned, he being Ludwig, as Paul lines out to center field for out number 3. But maybe by the end of the week they'll have guys like Ludwig back, perhaps Hannigan as well. They got Broxton back as well. They also have a 1-0 lead after 1. Network's Friday Night Showcase. Cabrera, fielder in the AL Central, leading Tigers, are Big Apple bound to face Cano, Granderson, and the Bronx Bombers. Matt Vasgersian and John Smoltz have the call Friday 7 Eastern on MLB Network, presented by Chevrolet. And oh, by the way, that'll be the same night that Alex Rodriguez will return to the Bronx, of course, making his season debut a couple of nights ago in Chicago. I was fortunate enough to be there, and boy, oh boy, was it the media circus everybody would have expected. As we kick things off here in the top half of the second inning, Yoenis Cespedes takes a called strike.
Yeah, you're such a diligent journalist. You were the first one in the ballpark.
It's not the word I'd use, but yes, I was. Early morning flight, headed right to the ballpark for some terrific coverage, if I don't say so myself, from everybody back at the studios. A long day, huge news, big day for baseball. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think the overwhelming sentiment, though, is that it was a good day for the game because we're on our way to cleaning things up.
I agree.
1-2 to Cespedes, a breaking ball tap foul wide of third. And we talked about Todd Frazier earlier, second year in the major league. Same thing can be said for Yoenis Cespedes. And one thing about Cespedes last season was that he was extremely quick to adjust
Right.
Hasn't come as quickly so far in 2013.
Yeah, they started really pounding him with the slider, and he was missing it by a foot, and then he started adjusting.
And Cespedes goes right to Frazier for out number 1 here in the second.
And he's played enough games to where you'd have these numbers where so goes Cespedes, goes the rest of the ball club, and he's been scuffling a little bit lately. And another one of those guys that Bob Melvin is waiting for him to turn it around.
So Homer Bailey 4 up, 4 down, and that'll bring up Brandon Moss, who on the season hitting .241 with 17 home runs and 51 RBIs. And some wondered, just to go back to Cespedes, some wondered, myself being one of them, if the guy who was scuffling going into the break, who had such a terrific showing at the home run derby, if kind of the inverse would be true of what we say every year, oh, the home run derby screws up a guy's swing, if maybe that could have gotten him back on track. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. Maybe a bit of a wrist issue afterwards, but he just hasn't been that same power threat.
Yeah, as superstitious as baseball players are, and some of them think that there's a jinx factor with it by participating in it. That's not necessarily going to mess up your swing, but almost a jinx thing like being on the cover of Sports Illustrated or one of those type of things. More than any other professional sport, that's where you're going to find the most superstitious players in baseball.
So Moss taps that one foul to even up the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Moss, one of those kind of revolving doors around the infield for the Oakland A's. They mix and match as much as maybe anybody in Major League Baseball. Were you surprised, as we again get a good look at Bob Melvin, who has done it the right way, I guess, with the pieces that he's been given? Obviously, we know the Oakland A's are never going to have the highest payroll with the whole ballpark fiasco that's going on in Oakland right now. So they've got to go out and get role player types to fill voids, and really Josh Donaldson, the only guy in the infield that's played every single day at a position.
Well, the real mark of a good manager is to take the players that the GM has given him and try to get the best attributes out of them. He was able to do that last year. It was a different style of club. They had a lot more pop in the lineup, and that was able to erase some more mistakes, and he's had to mix and match, and as a result done an outstanding job.
As Moss lines out to Chu for out number 2 here in the second inning.
We were talking about being able to make adjustments, and he's made the adjustments that his ball club currently is under. It's been scuffling coming off the month of July, where they hit 227 as a club. He's done a beautiful job of mixing and matching in the bullpen. Their bullpen second in the league. So he's found different ways to put it together, and of course the mark of a real good manager is the ability to do that.
As Josh Donaldson takes ball 1, it's been an interesting season for the Oakland A's for sure, because if you go back, they were in 3rd place in the West on May 16th. They were 2 games under 500, back 7.5 games at the Texas Rangers. As Donaldson hits this one in the air and deep to right field, Bruce goes up, but it's in the first row for a home run. Josh Donaldson connects on the homer, his 17th on the season, and we're even at 1.
Well, Josh has to be very happy about that. He was talking opening into this series about what a great ballpark this is for hitters, especially to right field. He's come off the break and has been scuffling, and you can see he's going through the Ring of Honor.
Bruce tried to size that one up, but just out of his reach, and Bailey surrenders the home run, and again we are even at 1. Alberto Callaspo, just acquired a week or so ago from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and again getting back to the AL West. You go back to when they were back 7.5 games in Texas, they went 44-26 since May 17th. But now they've kind of scuffled in the last week or so. The Rangers have been playing better. Obviously, these two teams met up over the weekend. Even though it's a 2-team race, that AL West is going to be a lot of fun throughout the rest of this 2 months here.
It is, and I think it's really going down right to the end, because these teams are much more evenly matched. They both have the ability to pitch. They both have more limitations offensively this year than they did last year. I think the Rangers are really going to be hurt by the lack of production of Nelson Cruz with his suspension.
Callaspo toward the gap in left center field. That one will get down. He rounds and heads towards second base as Chu cuts it off. So back-to-back extra base hits. The home run followed by the double. And the A's have something going here in the second inning.
This shows you how dangerous a hitter you can be when you have plate coverage. It just kind of, it looks like he just applied the bat to the ball there, just kind of guiding it, turns it into two bases. But that was really a good pitcher's pitch by Homer Bailey. It was well located and maybe a bit off the plate.
So even though Stephen Vogt does not exactly have the biggest numbers of anybody in this lineup, hitting just 200 with 2 homers and 6 RBIs on the season in a National League park with no DH, the Reds elect to intentionally walk him and set up a force at any base with Bartolo Colon on deck. And we've seen Bartolo Colon take swings in the past. This doesn't look like it's the most fun thing for him to do. So this is probably a good move, right?
I'm actually looking forward to it because I think of a word to describe his at-bats: indifference. Let's take a look at the location of this turnover split there from Homer Bailey, and you see Corky Miller going down with the glove. It was almost approaching the dirt. Just outstanding coverage of the plate. And Big Bartolo has the look like he doesn't really have a mind to be hacking right now.
He takes outside for a ball. We saw him a few weeks ago in Milwaukee, and he looked less than interested to be in the box. He was a step or two toward the dugout as the pitch was coming in. Put the bat on the ball in a later at bat, as he does here, as he fouls it off.
Oh, he's setting a trap for Homer.
As a former National League pitcher, of course, is there any sort of letdown when you're facing the counterpart, especially nowadays, with an American League pitcher who's not going to get a ton of reps in the box?
Well, there's a letdown from the standpoint that you definitely don't want to walk the guy.
Votto steps on the bag for out number 3, but the A's get the run back thanks to Josh Donaldson's 17th home run of the season. A homer off of Homer, and we're even at 1. Welcome back to Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. Afternoon baseball on a Wednesday at Great American Ballpark. We've been talking about the American League West, and again, it looks like a two-team race, but the A's now clinging to a one-game lead in that division. They remain in sole possession of first for the 32nd consecutive day. But again, the A's have not been playing their best baseball. Rangers have a different look now, obviously with the acquisition of Matt Garza, but also the loss of Nelson Cruz. So even though it's just a two-team race, as we discussed before, this could very well be a fun last couple of months when it comes to the American League West, just as it was at the end of last season.
I see Bob Melvin there, and you just kind of look at how the last 9 to 10 days have gone for Oakland. They've dropped about 6 games in the standings, and things have really heated up. And if you talked about the acquisition of Matt Garza, and I really think that these two teams, talking about the Rangers and the A's, have a very even match to it.
Zach Cozart will lead things off the bottom third of the order for the Reds here in the second inning. Cozart, Miller, and the pitcher Bailey. As Cozart, with the 9 homers and 38 ribbies on the season, has been dropped down in the lineup in recent weeks. He started the season batting second, but not the production that the Reds and Dusty Baker certainly would have liked, so he is further down in the lineup. And again, getting back to a point we were making before, this Reds lineup is far from healthy, and maybe that's why they were quiet at the deadline, because they're going to get some of their guys back. They get Jonathan Broxton back today. He's been activated, so he'll be inserted into the bullpen. Ryan Ludwig working his way back. Homered last night despite a 3 for 30-ish type of run on his rehab. See if he gets back by the weekend. Ryan Hannigan, who's played a lot behind the plate, splitting time with Devin Mesoraco, he could be back by the weekend. So as Dusty Baker said yesterday, as Cozart hits this one high and far down the line, but just foul. As Dusty Baker said yesterday, he said when the big boys come back, it's time for the big dogs to play.
Absolutely. And if you know Dusty, he is very pro-hitter, very adamant about what the approach and what the attack needs to be. And I think because of the health of some of the hitters and different parts of the lineup that he's tried to really shake up, it brings into these conversations that Joey Votto is patient. He should be swinging the bat a little bit more. He should be driving the ball out of the ballpark a little bit more. And it just leads to a bunch of other offshoot conversations.
That's a base hit into right field. So a leadoff single for Zach Cozart.
Righty off of Bartolo Colon. That's really a good approach, and just kind of letting the ball travel, let that two-seamer kind of come back towards the plate. He had no intentions of pulling the ball in that situation. He was thinking nothing but the right side of second base. Very well done.
So that's already now 3 hits off of Bartolo Colon, who in his last couple of starts has not been as sharp, at least by his own standards, as Corky Miller takes a strike.
And just look at the bug up there when you're starting to see the velocity here in the early going from Bartolo Colon. We've seen him this year, and we're talking about a guy who's 14-3, pitching in the high 80s and the low 90s. He's been 84, 85, 86, and
Corky Miller down the line, fair ball toward the corner. Zach Cozart stumbles a bit around second base, heads toward third, and he's getting the green light. He will score. It's an RBI double for Corky Miller, and it's 2-1 Reds.
Well, Dusty has to love this. Outstanding production to start an inning at the bottom part of the lineup. 2 hitters with 2 back-to-back good approaches off Colon, staying inside the ball. Cozart to right field, and then right field line for Corky Miller.
So that will bring up Homer Bailey. The A's expecting a bunt here with a man on second and nobody out, and the pitcher up. Chance to perhaps turn the lineup card over with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. Instead, Bailey hits it on the ground to short. He gets the job done anyway as Miller moves to third. Little butcher boy.
Good base running by Corky Miller, he had a good enough read to get the jump to where he closed off the throwing lane, where originally looking like there was going to be a play as a quick check by Jed Lowry over to third base, and realized that it couldn't be bouncing off the back of Corky Miller, so he takes the sure out over at first base. But back to the Butchie board, you know, a lot of managers, with seeing the defense really collapse, will give the pitcher the option to shorten up and go ahead and just pop the ball on the ground. It was effective that time.
Shin-Soo Choo, who singled and scored in his first at bat, takes a called strike.
But in that situation, I didn't really feel that the defense was really crashing as much to where Bailey could take the high percentage play and still use the bunt.
So again, Bartolo Colon, who in his start on July 21st, he went the distance, struck out 5, walked 1. Next start, he gave up 7 hits, 2 earned, but only worked 6 innings. The start after that, 6 innings again, gave up 2 runs, 1 of them earned. He has not, again, been as crisp. The number's still great. Again, we mentioned it before, 15 straight quality starts with an ERA a little over 1.5 in that span. He's been great, but maybe not as sharp. We're past the dead arm period, right? Or no?
Should be past the dead arm. I was past the dead arm period in 33 years of age. He's 40. And based on the fact that he is 40, and you're starting to see the velocity come down the last couple of starts, it brings a couple questions, you know, into mind. What is going on? Obviously, he has tremendous experience. Has a great idea how to pitch, great command of that two-seamer, but when the velocity comes down, it's going to be more difficult for him to be as effective as he's been.
2-2 pitch to Choo is in there, caught the inside part of the plate for the strikeout. He's down looking for out number 2.
That kind of goes to what I was talking about having the experience, some 85s, some 86s, and then when he came time to make that pitch, he humped it up to 88, and there is that great two-seamer that starts inside out of the strike zone. Never looks like a strike to a left-handed hitter. It ends up in the middle of the plate.
Is there anybody in recent memory that did that better than Greg Maddux?
Well, we used to refer to it as the, you know, not so much the swing back fastball, but the Maddux fastball.
Todd Frazier fouls it away. Frazier walked in his first at bat. A good look at Corky Miller, whose RBI double has given the Reds a 2-1 lead here in the second inning. Short 2-game set between the A's and the Reds. Cincinnati won last night 3-1. Matt Latos was terrific. Aroldis Chapman saved the ball game. Jay Bruce hit a home run, a late homer from Derek Norris, pinch hitting in the ninth, the only offense for the Cincinnati Reds, or the Oakland A's rather.
And just the second slider that Colon has thrown in this game, and you're looking at a very experienced pitcher. The Reds had the bases loaded, no one out in the first inning. He made a couple pitches to limit the damage to 1 run. Got a big strikeout, making a big pitch on Choo.
You mentioned the dead arm period, that it was maybe past that. He's 40 years old, and the whole thing with Bartolo Colon, the last major leaguer who was 40 years old with at least 14 wins, is Jamie Moyer, who won 16 games back in 2008. And again, Bartolo Colon's 14 wins this season, tied for the second most in the American League, behind Max Scherzer. 2-1 to Frazier, foul back.
We had a little shot earlier there of where Bartolo stands on the pitching rubber, and really it's about creating angles, and it's one of the more underrated things that a pitcher can do. He has the good two-seamer, and he is on the first base side, the extreme first base side of the pitching rubber, and that allows him to get that two-seamer in on left-handed hitters, the same pitch that he struck Choo out with, and also gives him a chance to throw the ball over the plate more, because most of the movement is based on where he throws it in the strike zone. It's easier for him to get the ball over the plate, which is why he has those great numbers where he's only walking 1.29 hitters per 9 innings. So I think a lot of people, you know, just think it's willy-nilly about where a guy is standing on the pitching rubber, but it's truly an effective tool in his arsenal that makes him what he is.
Payoff pitch to Frazier is fouled off down the right field line. And when a guy who, like Colon, can command that two-seamer so well, can you also control how much it breaks? Or is Mariano Rivera the only pitcher that can say, okay, I got 3 different types of cutters?
No, you've definitely become more excellent with just throwing a two-seamer. It's not just taking the grip and throwing it. You can alter it, a little different finger pressure, choke it back in the hand to take a little velocity off. So there are two-seamers within his two-seamer.
Hot shot toward the A's dugout.
The other thing he can do, like he tried to do there, he was more over the top with his delivery. Release point was a little bit higher to try to make it more direct and in on Frazier.
And he's obviously not the same powerhouse pitcher that he was back in 2006 when he won the American League Cy Young, but very few of us stay on our game 7 years after we've reached the pinnacle. So he's changed his game a little bit, no doubt about it. Another 3-2 pitch here to Todd Frazier with 2 outs in the second. Swing and a miss for strike 3, but 1 run comes home on the Corky Miller RBI double. The Reds have a 2-1 lead. And welcome back to Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. Reds have a 2-1 lead here as we head to the top half of the 3rd inning. However, they are in 3rd place in the National League Central right now. The Pirates still have a 2-game lead on the St. Louis Cardinals and 6.5 up on the Cincinnati Reds. As we mentioned before, it's their largest deficit in the Central since the end of the 2011 season. However, with a second wild card, the Reds very much in play, as they currently hold the second wild card spot right now. This is our second look at Coco Crisp this afternoon. On the first pitch, on a couple of hops, Kozar on the run. Gets the speedy Crisp for out number 1. Post play at first.
Very interesting swing by Coco. You see him raise his hands up to try to really get on top of the ball, guess fastball, and he was just looking to try to chop the ball the other way. Seeing the shortstop was playing a little deeper. See the little inside out, trying to be almost in motion, a la Ichiro Suzuki, to where he had a better jump, and he was a half a step short over there at first base. But interesting swing there by Crisp.
Seth Smith takes a called strike. Smith's first at bat flew out to left field. Seth Smith lines this one down the line toward the corner, and it is foul.
We've talked about some of the inconsistency that Homer Bailey has had, and well hit though, that one of the mark of real good pitchers are when your team scores, being able to have a shutdown inning the very next time you go out there. It is about controlling momentum, especially for a starting pitcher. So when Cincinnati puts a point on the board, you want to come right out there with a 0 and get your team back hitting as quickly as possible. So far it looks like it's a good start.
And another strikeout here for Homer Bailey. Actually his first of the afternoon, but he strikes out Seth Smith, who came in with a batting average well over 400 against Homer Bailey. He was 6 for 14 coming in, but 0 for 2 so far this afternoon. So a couple of outs here in the top half of the third. That'll bring up Jed Lowry. And again, Homer Bailey coming off his best start since the no-hitter. Faced San Diego a few days ago, 8 1/3, 6 hits, a run which was unearned, and he didn't walk anybody and struck out 7. And that's kind of the yo-yo career, I guess, that it has been for Homer Bailey. As you alluded to before, obviously you can make your own distinctions, but other people have said the same thing, that he has the #1 stuff. It's just a matter of getting it from start to start. Nobody expects no-hitters every time out there.
Geez, I'm glad they don't.
In the air, right center field. Bruce on the run. He will get there and make the play. Similar to the play he made last night, robbing Josh Reddick of what could have been extra bases. So 3 up and 3 down for the A's here in the third. It's 2-1 Reds. Welcome back to Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. Reds have a 2-1 lead here in the bottom half of the third inning, and the Thunder coming up here against Bartolo Colon, Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, and Jay Bruce here in the third inning.
And let's see, Paul, how Votto's approach is going to be different leading off an inning. He was looking to hack. He was in a good hitter's count. Had some runs to be driven in, and now leading off an inning.
First pitch, swinging line drive, and it dumps in front of Smith in right field for a leadoff base hit.
Love it.
What were you saying about a different approach?
You know, Dusty, you were saying it's time for the big dogs to eat, and you know, much has been made about Joey taking too many walks, and he says that's my style. His style is one of the more talented hitters in baseball, and you want to see those guys swinging the bat.
And again, got a chance to talk with the GM of the Reds, Walt Jocketty, yesterday, and I just asked him, I said, look, there's obviously this ongoing debate. Again, new school, old school. You pay a guy $200+ million, you want to see a lot of home runs, especially in a ballpark like this. But then you also look at the fact that he's as consistent as they come because he never changes his approach. He's not afraid to take his walks. I said, where do you stand on this thing? And a very political answer, he said, I'm right in the middle. But he said, you know, obviously,
just like he was right in the middle of should roll his Chapman starter relief.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Brandon Phillips flew out in his first at bat, and he takes outside for a ball, even up to count 1 ball and 1 strike.
And it's kind of the same conversation that Minnesota fans have been having over the big contract and Joe Mauer. And yes, he's won some batting titles, and I think a lot of folks in the organization don't want to see Mauer flip the ball into left field. He's a big, strong guy at 6'5" and 230 pounds. They want to see him start turning on the ball and swinging for a little bit more power, and that's what he's done this year. His approach has been more of letting it fly, which you've seen his strikeouts come up. But when you have one of your game's better hitters, yeah, walks are great, and they've proven how effective they can be. But when you've got guys that have thunder, because power, this type of power is such a rare thing, you want to see more of it.
And in a ballpark like this where the ball just flies out of here, it's carrying this afternoon as well. You'd think the power numbers would be a little bit higher, but again, it doesn't seem to me, I haven't had a chance to chat with Joey Votto, but it doesn't seem like he's bothered by the fact that he's not putting up 55 home runs in what some may consider a bandbox here in Cincinnati.
He's a quiet guy, introverted guy, has his own way of going about things, very, very intelligent player.
Whoa, line hard into the seats over the Reds dugout. The count remains 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And I think Dusty Baker and some other folks on the team would like to see Joey Votto be a little bit more demonstrative. It's very difficult to go outside your own day-to-day personality. He's not the type that's going to call a team meeting and do the old fire and brimstone and try to get everybody pumped up.
This one hit in the air, center field. Coming in a couple of steps is Coco Crisp, and he puts it away for out number 1. And that's something, just chit-chat with people around the Reds the last day or so, that this club might be missing a little bit of, is that stronger personality from a veteran like a Scott Rowland, who's not here anymore.
Yeah, Scott Rowland, someone that obviously they really miss, and we were talking with Ray Fosse, a longtime catcher with the A's and does television and radio with the Oakland A's. He was saying who the Oakland A's miss, who's actually played for both of these teams. Johnny Gomes played for the Reds. Johnny Gomes played for the A's last year, and he's with
Jay Bruce, high and very deep to right field, and it's gone. Home runs in back-to-back days for Jay Bruce, his 24th on the season. A 2-run homer to make it 4-1 Cincinnati. Homers, and now all 3 RBIs this afternoon to make it 78 on the season.
Up and out over the plate, and hey, that's what can happen when you turn and burn. Classic left-handed home run hitting swing, a lot of lift in that swing.
As that one's outside to Xavier Paul, and with that puts an end to 15 consecutive quality starts for Bartolo Colon. Going at least 6 innings, giving up 3 earned runs or fewer. He's given up 4 already here in the 3rd.
Yeah, and just going off the reports from his last start, and although he's made some real good pitches within this start, the crispness on the fastball is not there. He's been able to hump up a couple times and throw the ball by Frazier and Sin-Soo Choo, but his far as the pitch-to-pitch crispness, it has not been there. And it's also, I think, from the approach that the Reds have had, Dusty Baker's got to be thrilled. These guys are a lot more proactive.
In the air, testing Cespedes, who's running toward the line, and he makes the catch for the out. And again, we mentioned Jay Bruce going deep last night as well. This was last night against Dan Straley. The other way to left center field, just over the 379 mark. And he was also doing it with the glove. We saw a catch similar to that. That one a little more on the dead sprint, but so last night and today kind of mirror images so far, with a nice catch running into right center field and home runs both games.
Well, he's really starting to develop into a great two-way player. He used to be a very indifferent outfielder. Didn't take the best of routes, didn't get the best of jumps. He has really improved with that, and obviously the power at the plate. And I don't know, I've heard other players talk about having two brains or whatever. If you're noticing a big improvement in one side of the ball, it plays well to the other side. And I think that's just where you just grow as a player in your confidence level, and the improvements that he's made, power numbers that he's shown, just rounding himself out into a complete player.
And Bruce has grown up in this organization as well, and that entire right side of the field for this team, Votto, Phillips on the infield, Bruce obviously in right as well. They've been here for a little bit of time now. They've seen some success with this club. They've got their long-term contracts as Cozart draws a 2-out walk. So for the Cincinnati Reds, they've got their core. They've got the good young pitching. It's just a matter of putting it together for a sustained run.
And it's why a lot of people had predicted that this is a team that was going to win the NL Central.
Corky Miller steps in, 1 for 1 on the afternoon, an RBI double back in the second inning. Tap foul. And again, Corky Miller up with the club now because Ryan Hannigan still on the DL. Sounds like by the end of the week, Ryan Hannigan could be back with this club. He took batting practice here yesterday. And what they have done with the Cincinnati Reds and behind the plate, it's certainly far from what's going on in St. Louis, where it's Yadier Molina every single day, save for maybe 3 games a season. They've kind of kept a pretty good balance with their catchers, with Mesoraco and Ryan Hannigan. And obviously Corky Miller getting the start day game after a night game.
Well, life goes on. You have to get another catcher in there if the other two go down, and obviously there's some preferences as to who some of these pitchers want to throw to. Homer Bailey at times has had difficulty throwing to Devin Mesoraco, so Corky Miller behind the dish, who has over 3,000 at-bats with several cups of coffee at the major league level, but over 3,000 at-bats in AAA, and he has definitely stuck it out and easily rocking the best mustache in either lineup today.
No doubt about it. And the A's, a team that is certainly allergic to a razor blade, as that one way upstairs.
Now that was called a close shave.
Well played, my friend. Segues right themselves. This one upstairs toward the
mustache.
Of the helmet. But Miller got his noggin out of the way. Kind of a Sal Fasano type of look.
That's exactly who I was thinking about.
Yeah. And I'm sure that in his limited playing time until Hannigan gets back, he can rock whatever sort of facial hair he wants if he continues to drive in runs as he did in his first at bat, and putting forth a good at bat here against Bartolo Colon, who last inning, as you mentioned in the break, terrific job of getting out of trouble, but so far the 2-run home run has hurt him in this inning, and the Reds have scored in each inning so far.
And I think so much of it has had to do with the Reds being a lot more proactive in their approach.
Miller laces this one down the line, and that one will go toward the corner. Cozart heading toward third again, getting the green light. And he will score the run. So Corky Miller 2 for 2 with 2 RBI doubles, and the Reds have opened up a 5-1 lead on Bartolo Colon and the A's. So grow out that stash.
What a day for Corky, huh? He's just kind of playing with the lines. Down the right field line, first time up, now down the left field line. I think he's got it all covered.
Chugging into second base with his second RBI double of the afternoon. He's got 2 ribbies today. He had 3 RBIs on the season coming in. And the Reds have opened things up, a 4-run cushion now here in the third for Homer Bailey, who takes a strike.
Yeah, the Reds have just, they've got Colon on the run. They've pretty much taken it to him, knowing that they were going to see a lot of fastballs. He had a lot of guys that were in pull mode, extra base hits. The home run by Bruce. Mr. Doubles, Corky Miller.
Yes. Colon at 64 pitches here in the bottom of the third inning.
That is definitely unusual for him, Paul, because the one thing that's allowed him to rack up all of these wins, 14-3, is being efficient and not walking people. He's already walked 2, which is very unusual. And I mentioned that there's not the same crispness on his fastball. And this is a guy just that does not live in the hitter's counts. The 2-0, the 3-1s, another 3-1 count to the pitcher, Mike.
And this is a count and an at bat probably with 2 outs and the pitcher up that would you go at right after Homer Bailey here? I know he's not trying to walk him as he just did, but
no, you're trying to throw the ball down the middle of the plate. We kind of touched on that point earlier in the game about how Bob Melvin's seen enough, and I wonder if he may be, I don't know if this is a double switch or if he's trying to, yeah, it looks more like a double switch.
So we'll see who he swaps out here as he makes the call to the bullpen. And a short outing for sure for Bartolo Colon, as he goes just 3 and check that 2 2/3. Looks like Josh Reddick coming in, Seth Smith coming out, as is Bartolo Colon. A double switch here in the third. Reds have already scored 3 with 2 men still on. We're back after this. Welcome back to Cincinnati. A pitching change early, not what we expected at all, but 15 consecutive quality starts for Bartolo Colon, and he is nowhere near extending that streak today, as Jesse Chavez will come in out of the bullpen in a double switch here for Bob Melvin. Somewhat curious, early in the ball game, Josh Reddick goes into right field. Seth Smith comes out. We documented the numbers that Smith had against Homer Bailey. 3 homers in 18 at bats.
Yeah, so
15 at bats. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's an interesting talking point because the pitcher spot isn't until the 6th part of the 4th inning when the A's come to the plate. I mean, there is the thought because of the success that Seth Smith has had against Homer Bailey about keeping him around, but Josh Reddick replaces him in right field.
So Chavez comes in with 2 on and 2 out here in the 3rd inning. 3 runs already home. A 2-run home run from Jay Bruce and another RBI double, his second of the afternoon, from Corky Miller.
I'll tell you what a weird day it's been for Bartolo Colon. The last time he walked 2+ was all the way back in 2011.
In 3 straight games. As that one just comes to the left of us. Now, if we get a foul ball up here, that's all you, right?
Yeah, I don't have any problem going for it.
Diving around?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Just got to move the coffee.
Okay. Just checking. Paul Severino, Joe McGrain here in Cincinnati. It's a muggy, moist kind of afternoon at Great American Ballpark. And the Reds have been pouring it on the Oakland A's so far, with again a run in the 1st, a run in the 2nd, and 3 so far here in the 3rd. Again, as they turn the lineup card over to Shin-Soo Choo, who's down to the count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Chavez has allowed 6 runs over his last 3 outings after a 5-game 7-2 3rd inning scoreless streak. And one thing, in talking to Ray Fosse the last couple of days, who broadcast for the Oakland A's, one thing that he mentioned numerous times is how Bob Melvin uses the bullpen, and how at the end of the season you're going to see guys with a lot of the same sorts of numbers of appearances, balancing things out. Cayaspo goes and gets it for out number 3 as Choo is retired, but the Reds score 3 more in the inning. Thanks to Jay Bruce and his 24th homer of the season, they added another from Corky Miller's RBI double. Bartolo Colon done. 5-1 Reds. It's your home for Pennant Chase Baseball. See 5 live games a week featuring teams from every race. On Thursday Night Baseball, watch Tigers Indians at 7 Eastern, or see Dodgers Cardinals at 8 right here on MLB Network. Back here inside Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark. Lots of kids in the stands on an afternoon ball game here. Second of a short 2-game set, Reds and A's. The Reds took last night's ball game 3-1, and they are in charge here in the early goings as we head to the top half of the 4th inning with a 5-1 cushion right now.
You know, we're talking about the consistency of Homer Bailey, or the inconsistency, and why it is so important to have these shutdown innings to control the momentum. In the bottom of the 3rd, the Reds were able to fatten up on the pitching of Bartolo Colon, and so he needs to have 3 quick outs and get his team back in the dugout to hack it.
And it'll be Cespedes, Moss, and Donaldson here in the 4th inning. Cespedes 0 for 1 with a ground ball. So the line, of course, complete on Bartolo Colon. Not one of his best at all. 2 2/3, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts.
Just a fantastic approach by the Reds hitters, just feeding off the Colon fastball.
That one scorched down the line. And Yoenis Cespedes, again, we talked about it before with the show that he put on at the Home Run Derby. The A's have actually opened up the ballpark earlier on Fridays so that fans can watch Yoenis Cespedes take batting practice. Yeah, that's the type of show he puts on day to day.
That's one of the neat things, and it's good that, you know, clubs around the game are starting to realize how important that is for fans to be able to see the players in more of a relaxed setting of taking batting practice, and not just within the confines of 9 innings of baseball.
Breaking ball hit in the air, center field. Chu moving back toward right center. He will put it away for out number 1. So that one stayed in the ballpark, something that could not be said a few weeks ago at Citi Field when Yoenis Cespedes hit, I may be fudging the numbers a bit, 3,000 home runs that night. One of them actually bounced off a plane landing in LaGuardia.
Yeah, never let the facts get in the way of a good story, but you're right. He was over the boards early and often. He's got that perfect long home run hitter swing.
And again, that's one thing that the A's have been missing this season, not just from Yoenis Cespedes, but also a guy like Josh Reddick, who's been inserted into this lineup now after a double switch with the departure of Bartolo Colon. This is Brandon Moss, who fouls it off down the line. Moss 0 for 1 on the day. Moss is a guy who has provided some of the pop with the 17 home runs, but up and down the lineup on the whole, they haven't had it. Middle of the pack this club is when it comes to home runs, 111 coming in, tied for 13th in Major League Baseball. And in a ballpark like that, you probably can't expect them to be near the top of the league anyway. Ooh, that's some broken bat. And he's going to reach base anyway as Kozar fires that one wide of Joey Votto.
You can't take that as a hit. That was in between the thumbs. You know, hitting coaches like to say, way to throw some head. He threw some handle there and was still able, as weakly as that was hit, able to turn that in to a hit. Homer made too good of a pitch.
Hitters would never give back a hit, though.
No.
Am I right? Because for every one of those,
there's an atom ball somewhere.
Let's see where this got him.
That was down below the trademark. You saw the expression on his face. He thought he was originally going to have the dreaded F1 in the scorebook, which is probably the most humiliating thing to a hitter.
Instead, it's a 1B in the scorecard as he's on with 1 out for Josh Donaldson, who actually hit the 112th home run of the season. I misspoke earlier. 112th home run of the season for the Oakland A's earlier in his at bat in the 2nd inning, his 17th on the season. So far, the only offense for the A's. The offense they had last night, a pinch hit home run in the 9th from Derek Norris, and the offense today, the solo home run from Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, talking about the 2 different ballparks, as I was mesmerized by that deep fly ball into the infield off the bat of Moss. As favorable as Oakland's yard, the Coliseum, is to pitchers, Great American Ballpark is that to hitters. I played at the old stadium, Riverfront Stadium, pretty much in the exact same place, right down here, the banks of the Ohio River, and ball reacts exactly the same way. It just carries and carries and carries.
That one hit right to Shin-Soo Choo for out number 2 here in the 4th. And that'll bring up Alberto Callaspo, who doubled in his first at bat. And Shin-Soo Choo is a guy who, it's an interesting case. He'll be a free agent at the end of the season. The Reds went out and got him this offseason in what was a win now type of move, a 3-team deal involving the Diamondbacks and the Cleveland Indians. He's a free agent at the end of the season. And with all these long-term contracts that we have seen in recent years, by and large, the free agent market is somewhat thin. You've got your Canoes and your Ellsburys and your McCanns, and Shin-Soo Choo's got to be a top 5 free agent on the offensive side.
There are a lot of clubs that would love to have Shin-Soo Choo in their lineup. Outstanding leadoff hitter. He's had the challenges of having to play center field, and for a while it was a struggle. He's really come a long way, worked very hard, and made some great strides and improvements. Much more comfortable in right field. Good throwing outfielder, and the type of guy that you think just winning quotient, a winning player. A great complementary piece on a contending club.
And he does not have to be, this is the overstatement of the day, does not have to be the superstar on this club. They've got the big outgoing personality of a Brandon Phillips. They've got the terrific offensive threat, defensive threat as well, and Joey Votto. Jay Bruce, we've seen the last couple of days with home runs. As this one hit down the line, Bruce on the run, and it is off the wall, fair ball. They will hold Moss at third, Callaspo into second with his second double of the afternoon. And there are 2 men on and 2 men out here in the 4th.
This played into exactly what I was talking about at the top of the inning. Shutdown innings and controlling the momentum. It's still relatively early in the game, and the A's down by 4 still feel that they're in it. You put a couple shutdown innings together, and a major league team will start thinking about tomorrow. Oakland's been struggling offensively. You think they're due for a breakout game, and they've had a lot of pixie and fairy dust very late with walk-offs, and going back even into last year.
Stephen Vogt takes a strike, and this is a spot in which the A's have certainly scuffled as of late. 3 for 38 coming in with runners in scoring position over the last few days for this club. A team that's lost 5 of 6.
But the dynamics are a little different here based on the guy that's out on the hill. One of the things that, yes, he had the no-hitter on July 2nd. Dropped 4 straight games after that, and with the #1 starter type stuff, has these innings where you need to have the shutdown innings to get your team right back on to step on the opposition's net.
And this was a spot, as Vogt does not have an official at bat yet. He was intentionally walked back in the 2nd inning, but the pitcher spot not up next anymore, so that changes maybe the way that they would attack Vogt. Instead of maybe walking him, now they've got to pitch to him with Reddick up next, but Vogt comes through anyway with a base hit. Mike Gallego will wave home Callaspo. Here comes the throw, and it's right on the money. Miller hangs on. Callaspo's out. Weren't we just talking about Jay Bruce's defense?
Pretty good to me.
The throw right on the money. He gets Callaspo. Here's another look. Corky Miller cuts off home plate. Callaspo doesn't stand a chance. 5-2 after 3.5. And welcome back to Cincinnati. Here's a look at the play that ended the top half of the inning. Jay Bruce comes up firing after the base hit, right on the money to Corky Miller, and he tags out Alberto Callaspo, who got the business end of that one. 1-0 Corky Miller there.
Most definitely. That happens outside the confines of a baseball field. That's assault. He just roughed him up, took the plate away beautifully, and just drove him completely away from the dish.
So they're checking on Callaspo. In fact, he is out of the game now. That's going to bring in Eric Sogard. So here we are going into the home half of the 4th inning, and because of a lackluster outing from Bartolo Colon and an apparent injury to Alberto Callaspo, the Oakland A's have already had to go to their bench to take a couple of guys off. Reddick did not start. He's in right field now. Sogard did not start. He's at second base right now. And Todd Frazier is in the box. A good look at Sogard and what Dan Plesac likes to refer to them as his rec specs. Josh Reddick taking over for Seth Smith in right, part of the double switch back in the 3rd. Todd Frazier 0 for 2. Check that, 0 for 1 with a walk so far this afternoon. He is in the midst right now of an 0 for 30. And they always talk about a sophomore slump. And people asked, myself, asked others, are the only 2 guys in this generation, this day and age, that might be kind of sophomore slump proof, Trout and Harper?
You know, I just think one of the more difficult things, because it is a game of failure, and you're successful 3 out of 10 times. You're a star, and you're going to go through slumps, and you're going to have to be able to swing your way out of it, and be able to get out of your own way. And you start having some struggles, and all of a sudden you start taking advice from everyone, and you're further and further away from where you were and making things really happen. And you just can tell by the pass and the way that he's coming through the hitting zone that he's just not comfortable.
That'll bring up Joey Votto. First strikeout for Jesse Chavez, who took over for Bartolo Colon back in the 3rd inning. And I would imagine that's got to be tough for a guy like Todd Frazier, or anybody who's struggling really, because the Cincinnati Reds are right in the middle of a pennant race right now. We showed it before, 6.5 back in the National League Central, but they're currently holding on to one of the 2 wild card spots right now, with a bit of cushion as well on the clubs behind them. So the Reds need to win ball games. They're trying to figure this offense thing out, so they can't just kind of hide Todd Frazier in there and let him figure it out. So he's not getting the consistent at bats.
He's not, but he's getting the support of his teammates, and in a backhanded way, he ends up putting more pressure on himself, because he wants to be able to feel that he is contributing and keeping up his end of the load.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Chavez as he gets Frazier and then Votto here to start the 3rd inning. 4th inning, that is. That's Votto out on the breaking ball.
Good tight slider. It comes in on fastball tilt. Good quality finish at the beginning. Took a little bit more off on the one to get Frazier, who was a little out in front. Get a guy like Joey Votto up there, you want to make sure that you get greedy and throw your best, tightest breaking ball.
Phillips on the first pitch, taps this one down the line. Going to be a tough play for Chavez. He bobbles, and Phillips will reach.
I'd say you can give Phillips a base hit there in that situation. Chavez coming a little off balance, knowing that his momentum was carrying him towards the baseline, and it was going to be very difficult for him to stop and throw it inside the line, up the line.
So he reaches with a base hit. Phillips now 1 for 3 on the afternoon, and that brings up Jay Bruce, who's got 3 RBIs this afternoon. A home run in his last at bat, and a run coming home on a fielder's choice as well. That's in there for a called strike.
I mentioned his first time up. What I like so much about the fact that he has now what I would call an adjustable bat, where he used to just have that one swing. If you hit his bat, he's going to hit it a long way. But you have breaking pitches and other pitches to where he doesn't have that just one swing. He can go find the baseball with the barrel. You're not going to have any success or be here very long if you can only hit one pitch in one spot.
And as we mentioned before, a guy who has certainly been streaky at times in his career, trying to pick up the consistency for sure. Came into the game hitting .274, but a couple of more hits have that average up a point to .275.
And to finish that thought, obviously you have areas in the strike zone where you prefer it, where you like it, and oftentimes a hitter's practice swing will tell you where he likes it.
Swing and a miss. So Chavez, 3 strikeouts in the inning to mix in a single as well, but Phillips is left on. It is 5-2 Reds as we head to the top of the 5th. Welcome back. As we head to the 5th, we go back to the 3rd where the Reds did some damage. Jay Bruce connecting on home run number 24 on the season, his second in this series. And that was not all for the Cincinnati Reds, as Corky Miller for the second time this afternoon drives home a run on an RBI double. It is now a 5-1 Reds lead, and Bartolo Colon, who'd been rolling the last couple of months, done after 2 2/3 and 5 earned runs. As we welcome you back inside Great American Ballpark here in Cincinnati, Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. A 5-2 lead for the Reds. Homer Bailey, last inning, gave up a run. Was not a shutdown inning.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to the point where Oakland still feels that they're right in it. It's about controlling momentum. He was looking for a good crisp inning, and it could have gotten a little more serious where Reddick, who was coming up in the pitcher's spot, obviously in the on deck circle.
But after the base hit from Stephen Vogt, the knock to right field, Jay Bruce, who's obviously done it with the bat as we showed you, also throwing out a runner at the plate. That was Alberto Callaspo, who ran into Corky Miller. And Callaspo done for the afternoon. No update yet on his health, but it looked like he was holding his left wrist. So Eric Sogard has taken over, and now both of the left-handed hitters on the bench to start the day for the Oakland A's are now in the ball game, as Reddick comes in off the bench after the double switch when Colon was removed from the game, and Sogard when Callaspo was lifted.
It may not look very promising for the A's if they're rallying at the end of the game, and there's a couple left-handed hitters hitting back-to-back in Reddick and Crisp with a guy named Aroldis Chapman.
Righty, lefty, switch. Does it even matter against Chapman?
He's just a lefty who throws 101, you know.
But these guys could be ambidextrous. It wouldn't matter.
I'm just saying, if you're Reddick or you're Crisp and you're facing a guy left-handed that's throwing 101, you're probably the only left-hander on the planet that's doing it. Not an easy task.
I get your point. A switch hitter, Coco Crisp, is next. 2-2 pitch from Bailey to Reddick. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Strikeout number 2 on the afternoon for Homer Bailey.
He's got that kind of two-seam action that has real kind of funky rotation on it.
Coco Crisp will step in. He is 0 for 2, a fly out and a ground out.
You look at the stuff of Homer Bailey. Good life on the fastball. Fastball in the mid-90s. Strike breaking ball there on the outer part of the plate with good late finish to it. Good size, 6'5", 6'6". The type of pitcher that the Reds scouts, going back in the days of the Big Red Machine, used to go out and look for. It was almost like a rule that Red scouts, when they were looking for players in high school and college, that they had to be 6'3" and above and throw the ball downhill. But he fits the old Cincinnati Reds prototype scouting build.
That one is tapped foul. Count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. You go back to 2007 and looking at Baseball America's top 5 prospects, Homer Bailey was ranked number 5, and so he's always had those high hopes, those high expectations. He has obviously looked great at times, no question about it. Extremely great twice with 2 no-hitters. Already, to his credit, one of a short list of active pitchers with multiple no-hitters, joining Roy Halladay, Justin Verlander, and Mark Burley. And then at other times, he just does not look as crisp, and that's got to be the most frustrating aspect of Homer Bailey for the Reds and their fans, because he can go on a 3 or 5 game stretch and look like he could be Cy Young, and go on a 3 or 5 game stretch and look like he doesn't even belong in the big leagues.
Yeah, so I think the development that he needs to make now is more above the shoulders, and you really take off as a pitcher when you start worrying a whole lot less about what's going on the hill, and you start worrying about, at the moment of truth, what's going on at the plate. Reading the hitter, watching his swing, making those diagnoses according to what you're seeing, as opposed to thinking about what's going on the hill, about my mechanics. Am I getting my front shoulder closed? Am I doing all of these minuscule things? And so, to finish that thought, it's about going out and knowing that, controlling the ball game. That's what top flight and number 1 starters do. They know how important it is when your team scores to go out there and have a shutdown inning.
And obviously, a manager and a pitching coach would like to be the pitcher, or would like the pitcher to be a one-man band out there. But how much of that is also incumbent upon the catcher when he is dealing and can recognize bats? Because Ryan Hannigan caught both of the no-hitters for the for Homer Bailey and the Reds.
Well, he's been sorely missed. Obviously, one of the more underrated catchers, a great game caller, and someone that Homer Bailey trusts. And pitchers by nature are they're different cats. They can be very stubborn, and Homer Bailey at times has not been thrilled to throw to Devin Mesoraco. Tim McCarver caught Steve Carlton for 4 decades.
Did you ever have a personal catcher at any point in time?
No, but the guy I enjoyed throwing to the most was Tony Pena. He had just energy that was with you every single pitch.
Chavez, the pitcher, strikes out looking, and he is through 5. It was Homer Bailey with a 5-2 lead. We're back to Great American Ballpark after this. Welcome back to Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. Reds have a 5-2 lead as we enter the home half of the 5th inning. Reds scored a run in the first, a run in the second, 3 in the third. As Bartolo Colon, who had gone 15 consecutive starts, and a quality start, quality outing, couldn't even make it through the third this afternoon. Thanks in part to the guy going down the tunnel, Corky Miller, a couple of RBI doubles. Jay Bruce has a home run as well, as they've handed things over to the bullpen now, and Jesse Chavez will enter his 3rd inning of work.
Yeah, Corky Miller has been the star for me so far with a couple of doubles and really been doing a nice job squiring Homer Bailey through this game.
Here is Xavier Paul. First pitch swinging, line drive to right. Reddick on the run, looks up in one hop and goes over the wall for a ground rule double.
You know, I was talking about Corky Miller hitting the 2 doubles out of the 8th spot. The Reds have had some pretty decent production at the bottom part of the order.
Another double there for Paul, and Cozart scored a couple of runs with a knock. The 2 doubles from Miller, and even Bailey's reached on a walk as well. And that brings up Zach Cozart. Squares to bunt. Gets it down. Donaldson with the bare hand over to Sogard covering. And that moves Paul into 3rd with less than 2 outs. And we saw Corky Miller going down the tunnel. Looked
he
like
was looking a little, he's a little gimpy, a little ginger, wasn't he?
Not sure why or what happened to him, but Devin Mesoraco will be pinch hitting here in the bottom half of the 5th.
You know, I mentioned that he roughed up Cayaspo on that play at the plate, and maybe he got a little bit of that himself.
So Devin Mesoraco will step in. Again, he's been splitting a good chunk of the playing time. Not exactly half and half, but not exactly a true backup catcher all season long either. The Reds like what they have seen from him as of late, filling in for or getting more playing time, I should say, with Ryan Hannigan on the DL. Infield will play in with less than 2 outs.
Obviously, you've heard of Johnny Bench. Many people think the greatest catcher to ever live. His words hold a lot of weight, obviously, in Cincinnati, and he thinks that Devin Mesoraco is well on his way to being a very good catcher.
So with Mesoraco stepping in, this was just moments ago. Corky Miller kind of limping a little bit, looking to be in a little bit of pain. Again, we're not sure exactly what happened or when it happened. But again, there was a collision at the plate. Callaspo's already been lifted for Eric Sogard. And now Corky Miller out of the game as well. It's going to be a 1-1 count here to Mesoraco. Checks his swing, but it's in there for a called strike. And with most young catchers who have a scouting report on them that says this kid can hit, it's always the other side of the game too, because for 9 out of 10 catchers, it's also a defensive game. Speaking of defense, Josh Donaldson can't handle that one. And Mesoraco will reach, Paul will score, and it's a 6-1 lead now, a 6-2 lead rather, for the Cincinnati Reds.
Firmly hit ball right down the line. Would have been a nice play if Donaldson's able to come up with it. Has to go with a crossover step, and he's got that in between. I think you give that play a hit, in between hop.
Again, infield was playing in. You could see in the reaction, Donaldson wishes he would have had it. He didn't, and the Reds push across another run. Bailey squares to bunt, gets it down. That will move Mesoraco to second as they complete the 1-4 putout. So we just heard from the official score that they did not give a single to Mesoraco. That went down as an E5.
I don't know about that one. You know, the interpretation is would have taken extraordinary effort, and if he comes up with that, turns that into an out, we're saying, boy, that was a heck of a play. But it goes for an error.
And they will decide to intentionally walk Shin-Soo Choo. So we'll take another look at this from just a moment ago. Devin Mesoraco with the hot shot to third, goes off the glove of Josh Donaldson and into foul ground. So it's an E5 and an RBI for Mesoraco as the Reds now hold a 4-run cushion.
Now he's sliding. He's got a little bit of a tweener hop there.
So if there's a bat in the Reds lineup that you'd like to face right now with the bases loaded, trying to keep this at a 4-run deficit, it's probably that of Todd Frazier, who's 0 for 2 on the day, also has a walk, and he is 0 for his last 31. Check that, 2 runners aboard. But the moral of the story is the same.
Yep.
To have Votto on deck looming, here's the guy that, judging by what he's done the last couple of weeks, the 0 for 31, you got to like your chances. And it's quickly 0-1, and it seems like whenever guys are scuffling, I think the first name that pops into my mind is Ike Davis. It seemed like every time Ike Davis stepped to the box when he was slumping, it was already 0-2.
Yeah, that's the feeling. And when you are scuffling, usually the reminder is, from a pitching standpoint and a hitting standpoint, is get back to being aggressive. Get back to jumping on the fastball, hunting for the fastball. That was a well-moving fastball for that first strike on Frazier, and then another one well located down and away. And you get the feeling that, is it just me, or are they making all of their good pitchers pitches every time I come up to the dish?
Frazier 49 RBIs on the season, but scuffling in terms of batting average as he pops this one up. Shallow right field. Sogard back. Reddick calls him off, and the inning is over. But the Reds score another. It is now a 6-2 lead. We will see Cespedes batting second in the inning for the A's after 5.
Top of the sixth, 6-2 Reds. Homer Bailey on the hill, and he's been able to use all of his stuff. Been on the ropes a couple times throughout the course of this afternoon, but has been able to make that one big pitch to stay out of the big inning, and he has done a good job to this point working with Corky Miller in that well-framed strikeout looking, but Devin Mesoraco is going to be behind the plate, and I mentioned that earlier. The reason I bring this up is sometimes these two have had some difficulties getting along as far as pitch calling, and the one thing that kind of used to rock my world is when you had a good game going and another catcher would be changed out.
Doesn't take long for that to happen. Jed Lowry shoots this one up the gap, cut off by Chu, but Lowry going for two. The throw is just a bit late, and it's a leadoff double for Jed Lowry. What were you saying, Joe?
Exactly that. You feel like you're communicating well with your catcher. You're trusting the pitches that he's calling, and you're in a good rhythm. And there's already been a little history between these two. And you know, Homer Bailey now, I think, is feeling a little uneasy or a little uncomfortable, and it's just something in the psyche of pitchers that they just have to get beyond.
29th double on the season for Jed Lowry. It's a leadoff two-base hit, and it's got the A's going here in the top half of the sixth. Yoenis Cespedes followed by Brandon Moss. Waves and misses on the breaking ball, and it's 0-1. And just to go back to the bottom half of the fifth, there was some debate between us and probably others as to whether or not that hot shot toward third off the bat of Devin Mesoraco, which was originally scored in E5 with an RBI, and that in fact has been changed to a base hit in an RBI. So Mesoraco 1 for 1, taking over for Corky Miller this afternoon.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. It would have been an extraordinary effort. He would have been able to pull it off.
Did that get the shin guard?
Yeah, he should be okay if it got him right on the shin guard. That's what it's for, right?
Oddly enough, it seems like guys are never that lucky.
Yeah.
Always hits them elsewhere.
Like on the big toe or the inside of the ankle, but
Cespedes came in 10 for 33 with a couple of doubles, a triple, and 2 home runs, that is, over his last 8 games. Trying to be a bit more consistent as he pops this one up on the infield. Kozar puts it away for out number 1.
Yeah, so I'm going to have my eye on Homer Bailey the next couple of innings and see how he works with Devin Mesoraco behind the dish and how those two are clicking. And
so the Oakland A's, a club, as we mentioned before, came in just 3 for 38 with runners in scoring position. 1 for 2 so far today in that spot again here. Well, now 1 for 3 after Cespedes' pop up as Moss fouls it back.
We go back to last year with this team, and it was really a fun bunch, and there weren't a lot of preseason expectations, and they really seemed to care for one another. They had a great deal of fun playing. Was not a 2-strike approach anywhere in this lineup. They had a lot more power last year, and that was able to cover up some holes in the lineup. Josh Reddick, who's at second base with the leadoff double, hit 32 home runs. He's had a big drop off.
Moss lines that one into right center field. They will hold the runner at third. Jed Lowry stays put at third base, and it's a knock for Brandon Moss. So it's a hit with a runner in scoring position, but it doesn't drive home a run, and that's probably what you care about most. Well, that was a hot shot, got out there in a hurry. Brandon Phillips didn't even move. That was a good 7-8 feet from him, but he didn't even budge.
And again, the struggles that Bailey is having with the new catcher coming in there. And now a guy at the plate who could really make a difference with one swing.
And Josh Donaldson, good numbers on the whole with the 293, 17 homers and 62 RBIs, as you can see. But in the second half of the season, has not been the same player. The home run today, the first RBI since the All-Star break for Josh Donaldson. And talking to Ray Fosse yesterday before the game, he said, here's a guy in Donaldson who did not need 4 days off at the All-Star break. An All-Star snub to many, got 4 days off to rest and relax, and he said that's probably not what this kid needed at all.
I still think the dynamic is different because one of the things that has been the theme throughout this game that we talked about, Homer Bailey's inconsistency of, not really shutting the A's down. Offensively, the Reds have done a beautiful job putting him in this position with 6 runs on the board. That should be good enough with a guy with the type of stuff that Bailey has. But the A's still think that they're right there.
Hit on the ground past Frazier, so that will score a run and make it a 6-3 ball game. And now Eric Sogard will come up as the tying run here in the 6th.
Yeah, these things that happen. One, there's a pitcher on the mound that's really shutting you down, and you think, well, look, we'll get him tomorrow. And you start thinking about tomorrow. But Homer Bailey has never let the A's believe that they're out of this game.
Again, nothing that Frazier could do about that one. It drives in the run. So after not having driven in a run in the second half of the season so far for Josh Donaldson, the home run earlier back in the 2nd inning and the RBI here in the 6th. He's got 2 of the 3 Oakland A's RBIs as a visit from the pitching coach Brian Price here to Homer Bailey.
And I think a lot of this, why I mentioned at the top of the inning, having to do with kind of the rhythm change of a new catcher being behind the plate. And it is what it is. So you have to make the adjustment.
And as they always say, he's 1 pitch away from getting out of this.
That's usually what the pitching coach is bringing, some type of positive message. And used to hate it when the pitching coaches would come out with a stud up at the plate and said, hey, don't give this guy anything good to hit, and don't walk him either.
First and second here to Eric Sogard, who lines this one down the line and toward the corner. That's going to be some runs as Mike Gallego still waving around. Here comes the throw in. It will go to third as 2 runs score on the RBI triple for Eric Sogard, and we've got ourselves a 6-5 ball game. So that was Sogard's first at bat of the afternoon as he came in for Alberto Callaspo, who left the game with a left forearm contusion. Wastes no time, goes down the line, and it's a 1-run ball game.
Well, you could just see this coming. The A's with the life that they shown in coming back, and must be the specs for Eric Sogard.
The infield looks like they will play up with Stephen Vogt coming up and 1 out here in the 6th.
Yeah, this is just the real conundrum of frustration about Homer Bailey and his abilities. Sogard doing a great job making good tight turns around the bases to make it into 3.
So a meeting on the mound just long enough to perhaps stall a bit more, as that's going to bring Dusty Baker out. So Homer Bailey leaves with the lead, but he could just as easily not even factor in the decision here if that run at third does come home to score. Knowing you had a big lead, I'm sure it's not the best feeling for Homer Bailey right now. We'll talk about that on the backside as the Reds make a pitching change. It's Manny Parra coming in, tying run 90 feet away. We're back after this. Welcome back to Cincinnati. Hasn't been the best inning so far for Homer Bailey. That's Jed Lowry shooting one toward the right center field gap for a double. Brandon Moss was next with an RBI base hit. And more offense came later as Josh Donaldson scorches one into left field. That would score Lowry. Eric Sogard then came up with a 2 RBI triple. He stands at third base 90 feet away as the tying run right now. Homer Bailey done for the afternoon after 5 1/3 innings pitched. So he gives way now to Manny Parra, and Derek Norris will now pinch hit for Stephen Vogt, who had a base hit in his last at bat, also an RBI, and that was also the play in which Alberto Gallaspo left the game with a left forearm contusion. So Homer Bailey will watch from the bench as the Reds play the infield in with 1 out here in the sixth rather, and 3 runs already home. Norris pinch hit in last night's game in the 9th inning, connected for a home run off of Aroldis Chapman. And what was strange about that was it looked like Norris knew immediately that he got all of it. Looked like Chapman knew immediately that he got all of it. And Shin-Soo Choo went back toward the Reds bullpen in left center field, and it went off the top of the wall, that overhang of where the Reds bullpen sits, or where the relievers sit. See what Parra has done so far this season.
Well, you may remember him with Milwaukee Brewers, not particularly overpowering. Very important for him to have the good breaking ball command.
So what's the rest of the day like here for Homer Bailey? He sits in the dugout for the rest of this half inning, and then what?
I would be just completely lamenting the fact that you've had a team that's been struggling offensively, and they run out there and put 6 points on the board, and with the type of stuff and ability that he has, is not able to control that, and all of a sudden it's a game again.
1-1 pitch to Norris, hit on the ground. They play the infield in. Cozart comes home, and now Sogard caught up in between third and home. Parra covering home. Sogard tagged out. Moving to second base is Derek Norris, but well executed on the infield in. A ground ball right to Cozart, turns into an out. They cut off the run.
And a good job by Sogard in staying alive as long as possible to allow Norris to get into second base with an opportunity to still tie it up with 2 outs. Not the easiest thing to do, but the first thing you're thinking about is, how can I stay in this rundown long enough? As you see, he was taking a quick glance to see where Norris was, and once he saw he was going to be successfully reaching second base, gave himself up.
That'll bring up Josh Reddick, who struck out in his first at bat earlier today. And going back to that rundown, we'll save it. There's 2 outs in the inning. Here you go.
Or were you going to say a live whip around the league?
No. Yes. No, I was just going to say, well, now that we've got a second here, and I've already wasted enough of our time. You go back to Little League, and they always say run them back to the base where they were at. But I ran that by Bill Ripken one time, and he said it doesn't matter. You could run them toward home as long as you execute properly, as the Reds did right there, running a guy toward home. If you execute properly, you'll get the out.
Well, and I think that original thinking was just from the fact that, in case someone drops it, it's not going to be a run. But you're right. Execute properly, get the runner to commit, and get the run down over the minimum of 2 throws.
Are you trying to tell me that little leaguers aren't major leaguers? Reliable?
No, I was just inferring.
Okay. Be a 1-1 count here to Josh Reddick. 6-5 the score. The tying run at second base. That one line back. So here's another look right here. So Mesoraco throws to Todd Frazier as Sogard comes back home, and he's 10 feet from home. He's 10 feet from the tying run.
Yeah, but he is breaking back to third as quickly as possible to draw that throw from Mesoraco to where he can come back in the other direction and stay alive and stay in that rundown a little bit longer.
They check. Reddick went. He's 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. 3 runs come home in the 6th, but the Reds cling to a 6-5 lead as we head to the home half of the 6th inning. MLB.com At-Bat is the #1 app for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, Kindle Fire, and BlackBerry 10. At-Bat delivers live video, live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text At-Bat to 31826 or visit MLB.com for details. Back here at Great American Ballpark, Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. We head to the home half of the 6th inning. And the Reds have a 6-5 lead. The A's have a pitching change to report as Jerry Blevins comes in out of the bullpen, relieving Jesse Chavez, who in relief of Bartolo Colon goes 2 1/3, gives up 3 hits and 1 run.
And I was talking about momentum and how important it is. The A's definitely feel they've got themselves back into this game. Everything flowing their way. And now they're the ones that are looking for a quick inning to get back to swinging the bats. This is a little pretty tough part of the lineup to try to ask for a 1-2-3 inning, though.
It'll be Votto, Phillips, and Bruce here in the 6th as Norris takes over as the catcher as well. That's a line drive right to Reddick in right field for out number 1. So Colon obviously didn't have his A game today, but how important was it at the moment right now, and now a 6-5 game, that Chavez came in, gave him 2 1/3 innings, ate up some of the game, and kept him in there?
Obviously what you want to do is you want to be able to stabilize the game, and you know, you're thinking that you've got a guy with really good stuff on the hill in Homer Bailey, and he's got a big lead. You've scored 6 runs, and in your ballpark that should be good, and that's the toughest thing about starting pitching, when you really feel that you've let the rest of the lads down. They score 6 runs a game. For any good starting pitcher, that should be more than enough.
It'll be Brandon Phillips here, who is 1 for 3 on the afternoon. Most of the time managers like to stay away from their backup catchers, but both managers have had to use their backup catchers. Phillips in the air, right field. Reddick moves back a step in front of the track for out number 2. So Vogt started, but he was lifted for a pinch hitter in Derek Norris. Corky Miller started the game, had 2 RBI doubles. He's been lifted for a right quad contusion. Again, not sure exactly when that happened. We can only speculate it was on the collision at home plate with Alberto Callaspo, who also left the game. Take a look at the numbers there for Jerry Blevins, who also worked in last night's ball game. Jay Bruce pops that one foul. Bruce with a home run and a couple of RBIs in the afternoon. Make it 3 RBIs on the afternoon. Here is the play at the plate. Callaspo running into Corky Miller. That was definitely what knocked out Callaspo, and again, we can only assume that that's what knocked out Corky Miller as well.
Yeah, it looked like the knee of Callaspo right on the top of the quad of the catcher Corky, above the shin guard.
Jay Bruce has had a very good series so far, even though it's just a short 2-game set. He had a home run last night the opposite way, just the 4th time all season of the now 24 home runs that he's hit that have gone to the left of center field, straightaway center field. His home run today, 416 feet, the estimated distance to right field, and it hit the netting that's protecting the A's bullpen. 24 homers on the season to go along with 78 RBIs. But Bruce finds himself down in the count, no balls and 2 strikes here with 2 outs in the 6th. He held up.
Bruce down in the count, but you know, some ballparks are just built for certain hitters, horses for courses, if you will. The type of swing that Jay Bruce has, Great American Ballpark, ball carries so well from center field over toward right field, just falls in perfectly to his swing.
That time he went around. So Blevins works a 1-2-3 inning and keeps the Reds at 6. The A's trying to get maybe a run back or more. It is a 6-5 ball game as we move to the 7th. And welcome back to Great American Ballpark here in Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. That is Joe's preference on how to get to the ballpark, isn't it?
It is, and no limits to the production of our own Midge Green out there trying to get the paddle wheel functioning properly.
Slowly but surely, one of the riverboats here on the Ohio River. As the Reds have a 6-5 lead as we move things along to the top half of the 7th inning. This is Coco Crisp. Flipped around to the right side for the first time this afternoon, facing the lefty Parra. He takes a strike. Crisp 0 for 3. Ground out, pop out, fly out so far.
Jerry Blevins did his job, a nice quick inning, and A's feel like they're ready to strike again, top of the order.
And Chris Young on deck. It would have been the pitcher spot, so looks like Blevins' day is done. Todd Frazier plays in on the grass at third, as does Joey Votto at first. Middle infielders are back. When you're a guy like Coco Crisp, that's one thing that he's obviously learned, being a speedster and a leadoff hitter for a good chunk, if not all of his career. Use the wheels. Doesn't matter how fast you are, if you hit it right at the shortstop, it's going to be an out, though.
Well, frustrating for Coco Crisp, who's going through a little slide at the plate. Squares one up, and the old atom ball.
That'll get you every time.
Just thinking of a radical change of the inning from, head seats. That's how it's been going lately.
That's about right, huh? So Chris Young now will pinch hit. Cozart has a chuckle at shortstop. One away here for Young. Young acquired this offseason for the Oakland A's in a trade with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Cliff Pennington going from Oakland to Arizona. Was an everyday player for a good portion of his Diamondbacks career. He's come here and been a part-time player, fourth outfielder type, in a mix and match sort of offense, maybe more of a mix and match sort of offense and roster than any other team in baseball.
Well, there's nothing that's saying that he can't return to form and be that everyday player that they would like to see him be, but he's going to have to find the barrel with the ball more often.
Well, that, and then coming in, some people scratch their heads a little bit saying, well, Reddick's coming off a great season. Crisp is coming off a great season. Cespedes is coming off a great season. Unless they change the rules and do like softball and put 4 outfielders out there, he's not going to see a lot of playing time.
Yeah, they were coming off a pretty set lineup. But you're not going to have the same dynamics every year, and A's had so many of those dramatic late game wins. A lot of power. Didn't seem like anyone, as I'd said before, in the lineup had a 2-strike approach. So you're going to see a lot of strikeouts. You're going to see a lot of home runs, and you're going to see some exciting baseball. And the job that Bob Melvin has done in adapting to the type of club that he has this year, how he's manipulated the matchups in the bullpen, one of the best bullpens in baseball. Brent Balfour, their closer, has been pretty much as locked down as one could be.
And maybe just as nuts.
In a good way, though.
In a good way, obviously, of course. He is great fun to watch.
Yeah, it's always high theater. He's always cursing himself, and it's his own way to fire himself up and motivate himself.
And he wanted the ball at the end of last season when the A's were making their charge toward a playoff spot, and ultimately on the last day of the season a sweep of the Texas Rangers to overtake Texas for the top spot in the AL West, and essentially what amounted to something of a bye as Young takes the walk, as they were able to avoid that 1-game playoff against the Baltimore Orioles. Rangers obviously didn't avoid it, fell to the O's, and were a 1-game and done last October.
In a 2-horse race again in that division between those two very same clubs. And as I was talking about how the dynamics of a team change from year to year, the Texas Ranger team is a completely different team than it was last year as well.
Jed Lowry 1 for 3 with a double and a run scored. Takes a strike. Yeah, it's a Rangers team that in years past has obviously relied on its offense. They knew it would be a different dynamic coming in this year with Hamilton gone, Young gone, Napoli gone. Tried to build it around pitching, but they've got a starting rotation, or at least at one point had a starting rotation on the DL.
That's
finally
right.
Starting to get healthy again. That one's upstairs to Lowry.
And the lost offensive production now out of Nelson Cruz.
So if you're the A's, obviously you'd want to be playing consistently good baseball all season long. But as we mentioned before, they've lost 5 of the last 6 ball games. But they still have a lead, albeit by a game. Would you rather be the A's or would you rather be the Rangers right now?
I'd rather be the Rangers because the A's have seen what seemingly was a 6.5 game lead just blow up overnight, and that really tends to make a young team really nervous. And veteran and experienced teams know that it's grinding it out for 162, and they know how to pull themselves out of slumps. And oftentimes you have these young inexperienced teams that can go out there and have a great run of success, but really can't get themselves out of a slide. Pretty much the way the Washington Nationals have been this year.
It's been a rough season for the Nats in the NL East, but in the AL West things look like this. Again, the A's with a 1-game cushion on the Texas Rangers, their smallest lead since July 13th, when they also held a 1-game lead. If you go back to May 16th, it was the A's that were down 7.5 games. Since then, They played 44 and 26 ball, picking up 8.5 games in the standings to have that 1-game lead. The Rangers won last night, charging late against the Angels. They will play the Angels again tonight. And Bob Melvin and the rest of the A's know, and every club knows, that when you're around it every single day, you kind of understand it. It could be a game as it was last year with the A's. You pick a game out June, July, May. That's a game that you have to have. You fight for the game that day, because by the end of the season it might be 1 game away from a playoff spot or not.
And another reason why I think it's such an entertaining ball club. You've got Bartolo Colon, their best pitcher, 14-3 coming into this game, and he has just an awful start, gets blown out of there. And their lineup gets them right back in it. You know, normally you've got your #1 starter on the hill and you're thinking that that is win day. You've got a lot of trust. Cologne came into the game 2.5 earned run average. They found a way to peck away and get themselves back into the ball game and a chance to win it with their bats.
Cespedes awaits on deck. It'll be a 2-2 pitch from Parra to Lowry. Rich Young off of first, and a check over at first, gets away from the bottom, but no advance. And as this game has gone on, obviously the A's have had to dip into their bullpen early, just 2 2/3 from Bartolo Colon, but now we'll get a chance to see just how Bob Melvin manages that bullpen, which has been, again, just in talking with folks around the club the last couple of days, one of his absolute strengths. Young stays put. Lowry swings through for out #2.
Yeah, there's a little hemming and hawing there about what might possibly happen there in that situation. 2-2 count. As manager, you want to be confident that a guy can make contact if you're thinking about staying out of a double play. Young elected to stay over at first base. He was actually moving back to first base when Lowry struck out.
Melvin not the only guy who's going to be managing his bullpen today. Dusty Baker will make a pitching change as well. Parra out. LeCure in. We're back after this. Welcome back to Great American Ballpark. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. Manny Parra out. Sam LeCure in. You see what he's done in 43 games so far this season. A sub-3 ERA for the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, this has been the guy that Dusty Baker has been going to get a lot of his important outs late. And other than last time out against the Cardinals, where he allowed 5 hits and 4 runs, he's pretty much been a lockdown guy. A real good pitch maker, not particularly overpowering. competes very well, commands the slider and sinker. Great matchup here.
Cespedes and LeCure with the tying run aboard here in the top half of the 7th inning. 6-5 Reds on top. Cespedes 0 for 3 on the afternoon. And yeah, LeCure may have given up the 5 hits and 4 runs in his last outing, but that was against the Cardinals when the Cardinals bats were hot. Cards have sort of been feast or famine in recent weeks. Lost the first 4 games of that huge 5-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Scored a ton of runs in the finale of that series. Took on the Reds and beat them up a little bit over the weekend.
Yeah, they scored 13 runs in back-to-back nights after the Pirates beat them 4 in a row. One of those unusual 5-game series. It's going old school, back in the train riding days.
And then you got this, a quick 2-game set. A's will then travel to Toronto, an off day tomorrow. The Cincinnati Reds in the midst of a long homestand.
Yeah, these were the type of series when interleague play was first launched that, you know, a lot of people were around baseball lamenting the fact of the 2-game series and the extra travel. And a lot of that has been ironed out.
Paul Severino and Joe McGrain here in Cincinnati. Reds clinging to a 1-run lead. It's a 1-1 count as LeCure will check on Young at first. Young on after a walk. Pinch hitting in the pitcher spot. Of course, MLB Now comes on after the game with Brian Kenny and Harold Reynolds, Christina Acra as well. But still some unfinished business here at Great American Ballpark. Breaking ball, dumps it in there for a strike.
You come out of the bullpen and with runners on base, and you know, often people talk about the closers always coming in clean, and that's a much easier job. Although it is a very pressure-packed one, you've got to be getting your breaking ball over the plate in this situation like LeCure has the ability to do. You have to be immediately throwing strikes. You get a couple pitches to warm up on the hill, and then you've got to go right to locating, and it's not an easy job.
The 1-2 to Cespedes. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball, and he gets the out. So he has now retired 13 of the 14 and stranded, I should say, 13 of the 14 inherited base runners. He gets the job done as the Reds hang on to a 6-5 lead. Make Sunday extra special by going out to the ballpark. Go to MLB.com/Sunday to find special ticket offers. So Wednesday afternoon here at Great American Ballpark. A beautiful afternoon as the sun has finally poked its way through. Still a steamy afternoon, but a good day for baseball, as it always is here in Cincinnati. A little matinee action for you here on MLB Network. Paul Severino and Joe McGrain. And a happy 40th birthday to that kid's dad out there.
All right.
There you go. Did you think I was going to say you, Joe?
Yeah, I thought you were saying that I was celebrating the 8th anniversary of my 40th birthday.
You look great for 36. As we move to the home half of the 7th inning right now, it'll be Xavier Paul, Zach Cozart, and Devin Mesoraco here for the Cincinnati Reds. New pitcher is Ryan Cook, 47 games and a 2.05 ERA. One of the powerhouse arms in the A's bullpen. And if things stay as tight as they are right now, we figure to see the others as well.
Boy, it'd be great to see Chapman today and Cook, Doolittle, Balfour.
It's a lot of heat.
Yep.
It's a lot of heat. It's the 48th appearance for Ryan Cook so far this season. And as we've been talking about the last couple of innings, one thing that Bob Melvin is so good at doing is managing the innings, managing the appearances as Chapman starts to get loose. Melvin's so good at managing the appearances of the guys in his bullpen, tries to keep everything very balanced. Levin's work today is 51st game. I haven't seen Doolittle, but he's at 50. This is Cook's 48th. Balfour's worked 46. That's a pretty good balance in the bullpen for appearances.
Boy, it certainly is, and that's what separates the managers, the excellent top tier ones from the middle of the road ones and the bad ones. The ability to balance a bullpen and manage a bullpen and to keep everybody fresh.
Hit on the ground. Big hop for Moss. He'll take it himself. And Paul is retired for out number 1 here in the 7th.
You know, and to finish that thought, you know, a lot of people, including myself, have made something out of the fact that the Pirates came into the break having more innings thrown by their bullpen, and that it would be cause for concern because their bullpen already has been exposed and that they may tank in September. But inside of that, and what Clint Hurdle has said, yes, they have thrown a lot of innings, but they have been spaced a lot more evenly and more balanced than a lot of people, you know, would observe it. Yes, it's been a lot of Melanson and Grilly, and obviously it's going to have to be a little bit different without the presence of Jason Grilly, but it is so important as to how you're able to keep each and every one of those guys fresh. Somebody needs a little bit more time to recover, maybe not bouncing back as well, and another guy is fresh and sharper when he's thrown 2 and 3 days at a time.
And not only that, but one thing Ray Fosse pointed out to me yesterday was that it's also, guys, when you're trying to balance out the innings and the appearances between the guys, 9 times out of 10, of course, Grant Balfour is going to get the 9th. But if he's worked 2 or 3 straight days and you're in a tight ball game on day 3 or 4, you know you're going to somebody else. That's going to give guys like Ryan Cook, Jesse Chavez, the other 2 guys on this in this bullpen who have saves, 2 for Cook and 1 for Chavez, maybe gives them a little bit more confidence if and when they need to get a big out later in the season. And of course, it looks like the A's are going to be playing some pretty meaningful games in this last month and a half.
And on the other side, the Reds don't like to use Chapman back-to-back nights too often as well.
And he has not worked more than 1 inning at a time all season long. So we get another look at the 5-3 putout for out number 2 here in the 7th. So again, Chapman hasn't worked more than 1 inning at a time in any of his appearances so far this season. A lot of people questioning whether or not he will be at any point in time.
I think there's going to be a time where he's going to have to go out there and get some 5-out saves.
And I hate to keep name dropping. Actually, I love it. But I talked to the GM of the Reds yesterday, Walt Jocketty, and I asked him that question. I said, Chapman's only gone 1 inning max in all of his appearances so far. Is there any thought to maybe stretching him out a little bit? And he said, I'm sure we'd like to do that. He leaves it up to Dusty Baker to figure that out. But knowing that there's probably going to be a time where he may need to get a 4 or 5-out save and come to the playoffs. We've seen Mariano Rivera do it a number of times. He's on another planet, of course.
Yeah.
But even get a 6-out save.
And you're right. And I can't help it, but speaking of name dropping, I don't know if it was Johnny Carson or Robert De Niro that told me, Joe, nobody likes a name drop.
Well, we still have 2 innings to go. I'm sure I'll throw another one out there.
Who else did you talk to before I got here?
I was going to say Joe McGrain, but that doesn't count. A 3-1 pitch to Mesoraco, who singled and drove in a run in his first and only at bat so far this afternoon. Started the day on the bench with Corky Miller behind the plate, but Miller left with a right quad contusion. As we welcome you inside our broadcast booth, Paul Severino and Joe McGrain on, again, what has turned out to be a lovely day for afternoon baseball here in Cincinnati.
Boy, it's a great baseball city, great baseball town. It has a tremendous amount of tradition and a beautiful ballpark.
With a great backdrop of the Ohio River in the background. Mesoraco in the air. Center field. Moving in and calling off everybody else is Yoenis Cespedes. So we will head to the 8th inning. Reds hanging on to a 6-5 lead. Welcome back to Cincinnati. Just to catch you up on the action here, you go back to the 3rd inning. Jay Bruce connected on home run number 24, his second of this short 2-game set. Later in the inning, Corky Miller with the second of his 2 RBI doubles on the afternoon. He has since left with an injury, as did Bartolo Colon after just 2 2/3. A string of 15 consecutive quality starts is over. Moving forward in the action to the 6th, Josh Donaldson with a base hit. Eric Sogard then with a 2 RBI triple. And that is where we stand right now. 6-5 the score at the moment. Homer Bailey still in line for the win. It would be his 7th on the season, but still plenty of unfinished business, as it is a 6-5 lead now for the Reds going to the 8th. As the Reds will go to the bullpen once again and turn things over to J.J. Hoover, making his 47th appearance with an ERA slightly over 3 on the season. Chris Heisey has also been inserted into the lineup. He moves into center field, taking over for Xavier Paul. For the A's, it'll be Brandon Moss, Josh Donaldson, and Eric Sogard here in the 8th, down a run. So Heisey, Chu, and Bruce left to right in the outfield here in the 8th inning. And Moss on the day, a couple of hits, a couple of runs scored. Back toward us. Joe, not even a flinch.
Sometimes you just learn how to slow the game down, Paul.
I rely on you. You're unbelievable. Supposed to dive for those. Jay Bruce won't have to dive for this one in right. Camps under it for out number 1.
I don't know what's going on down in the truck, but you're getting more FaceTime on these games than you do in the studio.
I know. Isn't it nice?
That's across the banks. That's on the Kentucky side, is it not?
Yeah.
Doing a little fishing.
It's a small boat, too. Love these ballparks that are situated right on the water. This one, Pittsburgh
ballpark, yep.
AT&T. It's beautiful. And oh, by the way, J.J. Hoover's been rolling, as you can see. 21 consecutive scoreless innings out of that Reds bullpen, which in fact gets even stronger today with Jonathan Broxton coming off the DL. He's missed a big chunk of time so far this season. So again, as we talked about before, the Reds quiet at the deadline, but it was the guys, their own guys, that they were going to reacquire in a sense as they began to get healthy. Broxton back today. Hannigan and Ludwig hopefully back by the end of the week or beginning of next week.
Yeah, and I think that's where Dusty Baker thinks that these guys are ready to rock and roll. And Jonathan Broxton making sure everything is clear of the beard before he makes his way out there.
The one big question mark in terms of injured Reds, though, would be their ace, their number 1, Johnny Cueto, who at a couple of times already this season has been on the DL because of an oblique injury.
And really, you know, in talking to the Reds, there's not like the clearest of timetable as to when he is coming back. Mike Leake's been doing a good job for the most part. Homer Bailey has had some real good starts, and Johnny Cueto has been really the guy, their go-to front part of the rotation guy that they have relied upon.
And on the back end, Tony Cingrani has been incredible at the back end of that bullpen.
Great stuff.
Or rotation, I should say.
Great stuff. Outstanding breaking ball, and definitely has very good swing and miss stuff.
And then, of course, Mr. Reliability, Bronson Arroyo as well. After an off day tomorrow, Arroyo will toe the slab on Friday night.
It's a guy that always seems to get overlooked. Never missed a start. Skinny guy with that high leg kick, incredibly durable. Not lighting up the radar gun, but everything he throws, he can get over the plate. A lot of guts.
Arroyo will go Friday against the Padres. Cingrani will go Saturday against the Padres. Crowd not happy that Josh Donaldson's still in the box.
He's been scuffling, but he's started to look a little more hitterish in this game today. It's like that confidence is coming back. Being able to foul off those good pitchers' pitches and stay alive. The pitcher feels like he's executed. He's hit his spot, and he's made that that perfect pitch and it gets fouled off, and now you've got to collect yourself, and you're in a one-run ball game, and not think about having it drift back towards the middle of the plate. Hitters start to come around. They start fouling off those close pitches and giving themselves a second chance.
That's the 10th pitch of the at bat. It's a hot shot to Cozart at short, but a 6-3 putout as Donaldson is retired. Donaldson hit a home run, his 17th on the season, back in the second. Singled and scored back in the 6th. But he comes up empty here against Hoover in the 8th. And with 2 outs, that'll bring up Eric Sogard. Again, Sogard did not start. He did come up with a big 2 RBI triple earlier in this ball game in his only at bat to this point back in the 6th inning. Didn't start. That was Alberto Callaspo, but he ran into Corky Miller on a play at the plate, left with a forearm contusion. I've been fortunate enough to do some Arizona Fall League games in the past. I've seen J.J. Hoover in the Fall League, and if you can throw hard, as he gives up the base hit there to Eric Sogard, if you could throw hard these days, it seems like now the fast track to the major leagues is out of that bullpen. More so than maybe other avenues to the major leagues years back.
Usually because it's, one time through the order, and ideally you've got swing and miss stuff. That has not been the case for the number 7 spot in the Oakland Athletics order. They're 4 for 4 today with Callaspo and Sogard.
2 doubles for Callaspo, a triple and a single for Sogard. So the 7th spot is a home run shy of the cycle. It's the 8th spot now, and Derek Norris, who also did not start the ball game. Pinch hit for Vogt back in the 6th.
But talking about these Cincinnati relievers like LeCure and Hoover, not only can they rush it up there, but they do a real nice job of getting their breaking pitches over the plate. It's not what scouts or other players would call just a dead brain heaver, a guy who can throw 95 miles an hour, has no idea where it's going, and is hoping it's over the plate on occasion.
And that breaking ball just missed, and that's kind of a common theme in all 3 of the bullpens in the National League Central, between the Pirates, the Cardinals, and the Reds. They've got those power arms out of the bullpen, and I guess it should then come as no surprise that they're all front runners. In terms of, at the moment, they all would hold a playoff spot right now.
Allows you to shorten the game. Relievers or starters do not go as long, and you can kind of mix and match and go right down the line. And speaking about going right down the line, having those power arms at the end of the game, those are the type of teams and bullpens that do well in the postseason.
So Norris comes up with his first hit of the afternoon as he laces one into left field, and there will be 2 men aboard and 2 out here in the 8th as another visit from Brian Price.
Just a little scouting report visit with Reddick up at the plate. There's been scuffling, and I think at this juncture here, it may be given a time for Chapman to get in the game, but still with the numbers that Hoover has and the struggles, and yes, I know it's not the perfect left on left matchup, but his ability to locate and just stay down and away should be good enough.
So for Reddick, in situations like this with runners in scoring position, a .270 hitter this season. Oakland had scuffled recently with runners in scoring position, but so far today 4 for 8, and then find themselves down a run.
It's kind of been a breakout day for both teams offensively.
Yeah. The A's scored a total of 10 runs over the course of the last 6 games, 5 losses, 5 runs so far this afternoon.
And that's such an important pitch, getting your breaking ball over for strike one. That plants the seed of doubt in the hitter's mind that when's he going to throw another one that makes your fastball better through the rest of the at bat. And there was an example of it right there, that he's able to throw a 92-mile-an-hour fastball that with that breaking ball already in play, ball was by Reddick, and he's quickly ahead 0-2.
Reddick not happy with himself at all. Check the swing, the foul tip.
That was all set up by the breaking ball for a strike on the previous pitch.
2 on, 2 out, 6-5 the score, top of the 8th. That one's upstairs.
That's usually the precursor to playing the high-low game, just kind of blindly throwing one 93, 94 miles an hour up and then going right back downstairs with a breaking ball somewhere around the shoe tops to try to get him to chase. Oh, he repeated back to back. Much better swing there.
But that's the cat and mouse game, right? I know John Smoltz talks about it all the time, the cat and mouse game between hitter and pitcher, and who can obviously execute better but also outthink the other side.
I know that's what he misses the most about not playing. I feel the same way, and just watching what the hitter is trying to do.
Another fastball upstairs.
So the 3 empty the bucket straight fastballs that have been up. Now he has a good breaking ball command. That's how he started the at bat. Hitters don't like to take called thirds with a 3-2 count. This is 2-2 count.
In the air, right center. Chu and Bruce both there. It's Chu for out number 3. Reds fans happy that somebody at least caught it. They protect a 6-5 lead going to the home half of the 8th. Harold Reynolds trusts his baseball instincts. Brian Kenny favors stats. Now old school battles new school, plus highlights and news of the day. MLB Now coming up right after the game, and weekdays at 4 Eastern on MLB Network, presented by MasterCard. Those guys standing by in Studio 3, Paul Severino and Joe McGrain here with you at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, where the Cincinnati Reds have a 6-5 lead, trying to hang on for this one and take both games of a short 2-game set between Oakland and Cincinnati. Chris Heisey will lead things off, part of a double switch earlier. It'll be Heisey, Chu, and Frazier here in the 8th.
You know, we were talking the last half inning about the cat and mouse game between a pitcher and a hitter, and really it's about playing odds to increase your chance of success, especially from the hill. You have a ballpark which is definitely favored to the hitters. The ball carries very well, and in a one-run game, increasing your odds of success is about, for the most part, staying down and away.
So Cook back out there. He worked in the 7th, and he will begin the 8th as well. Heisey, again, part of that double switch. It was Xavier Paul that started. The big news with the Reds, of course, is that as Brandon Moss makes a terrific play to take away a base hit from Chris Heisey. Big news is that hopefully Ryan Ludwig will come back at the end of the week, out since opening day. And Moss just
not even a half step, just kind of a half dive.
So that's going to do it for Ryan Cook, as Bob Melvin again will go to his bullpen. See more of these power arms coming out when we come back to Cincinnati. 6-5 the score, 1 out in the 8th. Back to Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe McGray, new pitcher for Oakland. The hard-throwing Sean Doolittle comes into his 51st game of the season, a sub-3 ERA, and just like a handful of other guys in the A's bullpen, he can bring it.
Absolutely. From the left side, he's developed a pretty good breaking ball now to go with that fastball. Hasn't allowed a run over his past 9 games. Part of the left-right Aussie connection in the Athletics bullpen, along with Grant Balfour. Hedge and they sit around through most of the game trying to figure out why no one else but Australians like Vegemite.
Well, I don't even know what it is. I said no big words today, Joe.
It's an Australian staple.
All right, fair enough. And Shin-Soo Choo grounds to second base. Eric Sogard to Moss for out number 2. He's got that John Lester type of setup, does Doolittle.
Just kind of glaring out over that front forearm, but you're right, he can absolutely bring it. Both he and Balfour in the mid to high 90s.
Face Todd Frazier right now, who is 0 for 3 with a walk. Laced down the line, but foul.
You know, we were talking earlier today about Frazier's struggles and the need to just get back to being aggressive and hunting for that fastball. He got the fastball, squared it up pretty well. but couldn't keep it fair. And when you're scuffling, that seems to be the way it goes.
0 for his last 31, and that one's off the left shoulder.
Now that's the way to take it, to turn away from the baseball and protect yourself. Just kind of a glancing blow, if there's such a thing, at having it not hurt when it's thrown at 95.
90 and change, yeah. So Frazier on first with 2 outs, and that'll bring up Joey Votto. 2 for 4, a couple of singles. The fact that he has been on base twice today comes as no surprise, as the crowd starts to wake up a little bit, hoping for more insurance. A 6-5 lead for Cincinnati here in the 8th.
Oh, I love this at bat here. You know that Votto is going to stay neutral and square. Does a great job of keeping it towards the middle of the field on left-handed pitching. And it's a bit more of a challenge when someone who throws as hard from the left side as Doolittle does.
A .287 hitter this season against left-handed pitchers. 7 homers and 17 RBIs against lefties. I guess when you're good, you're good. It doesn't really matter.
Such incredible balance.
And so far in August, he's hitting .533. Votto fouls it back. I'm sure you'd need time to compile a true list, but if you were coming up with a top 5 just all around great hitters in baseball, is Votto in that mix?
He's definitely in the conversation. And the strange thing about that, about being in that conversation, it comes with a caveat, but boy, I wish he'd hit more home runs.
If there's any knock on it, it's that. 17 homers on the season and 52 runs batted in. And as we mentioned before, in a ballpark like this, with the power that he's got, if he hit 50 every year, you wouldn't be surprised. But
well, I mean, you would think that Brandon Phillips, who's on a pace to drive in 120 guys this year, that Votto is their go-to guy, the face of the franchise, the big bat for the future. You'd like to see him drive in more too.
But I guess the argument, of course, would be made on the other side that he's got his own. He knows what pitches he can do damage with, what pitches he can't, and he's not going to stray from that. And again, maybe that's why he's a 300+ hitter every year and as consistent as they come. Stays away from the bad habits.
I'm saying the same thing about Joe Mauer as Joey Votto, is when you sign these big contracts and you're going to be the guy for the next 10 years or whatever, that you want to see some thunder. I mean, that's the type of salary that comes with some big time offensive thump.
Doolittle's checked on Frazier a couple times throughout this at bat. Frazier's not really shown to be going anywhere.
Did not want to be taking the bat out of Votto's hands, and sometimes most of the pickoffs now are called from the bench, but sometimes you have a catcher that puts a sign down and just giving yourself a little more time and padding. You just throw a courtesy move over to first base and just kind of reset and start over again.
Another 2-2 pitch. Hit on the ground. Sogard to first for out number 3. So the A's will get their last chance, and it doesn't figure to be easy. as Aroldis Chapman's coming in for the ninth. 6-5 Cincinnati. And welcome back to Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Paul Severino and Joe Magrane. Aroldis Chapman takes over. 26 saves this season. He's converted 8 of his last 9. And when he's on, Joe, he's one of the most entertaining and effective closers in the game.
Boy, I was going to say exactly that. As far as the entertainment factor, everyone watches every pitch he throws and immediately looks to the radar gun, looking for those triple-digit fastballs. He does go through stretches because he creates so much arm speed where that delivery falls apart and the plate starts bouncing around on him. But for the most part, his pitching coach Brian Price has done a great job with him over the last couple of years, cleaning up that delivery to where the lines and direction towards the plate are much better. And he's taken away a lot of that east-west stuff in his motion that really used to have him very erratic.
Coco Crisp will lead things off 0 for 4 on the afternoon, and he takes a ball from Aroldis Chapman. Chapman worked last night as well for the Reds. He had 3 strikeouts in the ninth, but sandwiched in there was also a home run to Derek Norris, the only run the A's scored last night. But a scuffling A's offense has put 5 runs on the board this afternoon. Still find themselves down a run here in the ninth.
And you talk about the fastball of Chapman. It does have an extra gear as he tries to find that release point and then step it up into triple digits.
Only 95 on the outside part of the plate for the first strike of the afternoon from Chapman. Nate Fryman looks to be coming up next on deck. Be pinch hitting for Chris Young.
Yeah, these are not easy assignments after sitting all day to come face a guy like this.
You know, that's what I thought with Norris yesterday, the pinch hit home run. So what do I know? Nothing.
Well, hey, no, it's not about that. Sometimes you get lucky and you run into one. Stone won at 97, that last one at 96, and I think now you'll see that extra gear where he'll try to put a little extra giddy up on it.
99 in the air. Chu in a few steps. Out number 1. So Nate Fryman has been announced. He will come in off the bench. Yeah, I can't imagine that's a great assignment at all. Sit there all day and try to catch up with 99. That's one of the many reasons, Joe, I was never a big leaguer. Just couldn't come off the bench like that, you know.
Well, that's your cross to bear.
That and plenty else. First pitch swinging, and Jay Bruce puts it away for out number 2.
Not just because of the quick outs, but Chapman has the free and easiness to his delivery, like he trusts where he's at. You can see at times when it's out of whack. You can see it in his body language. He's got a pretty good feeling about himself right now.
So Jed Lowry will be the last hope here for the Oakland A's. Team that's lost 5 of 6 still has a 1-game lead in the AL West, but that could dwindle to a half game and maybe even disappear by the end of the night with the Rangers taking on the Angels later on.
And 101 just for a little entertainment.
You said we'd get there, and we did. About 7 pitches in. 1-0-1 again, paints the outside part of the plate, and the A's are down to their final strike.
I want to know if he's got 1 more mile per hour in him.
Ooh. That I don't know. Almost 30,000 on hand. Watch the Reds win it 6-5.
103.
103. You nailed it. And so did Chapman. His 27th save of the season as the Reds hang on for a 6-5 win.
Big high character win for the Reds today. Really came alive offensively. Things starting to get a little panicky. The game got away from him with Homer Bailey letting Oakland back into it, but with some outstanding bullpen work out of Dusty Baker's Reds, and high entertainment to close it out with the last pitch of the game at 103 miles an hour.
Oh, you'll take that any day of the week if you are the Cincinnati Reds, who take both of these ball games against the Oakland A's. 6-5 the final score this afternoon. So for Joe McGrain and the entire crew, I'm Paul Severino saying goodbye from Cincinnati. The Reds hold off the A's. 6-5 your final score. Coming up next is Harold Reynolds, Brian Kenny, and Christina Acra with MLB Now. We say so long from Cincinnati. We'll see you next time.